Okay, hey, welcome to the live stream. Stop the FOMO. We always have an audio check, and so I figured it out. Let me know if the audio dies in the next 10 minutes or so. But we have the Sony A95L. It is the center TV labeled. This time I labeled it correctly. The one on the left is the 77-inch S95C. The one on the right is LG G3. We'll go through all the settings so you see what we have. But they're all in their, the S95C and the G3 are in their calibrated modes, filmmaker. And the A95L currently, I believe, is in its, well, I don't know. I think it should be a professional mode, but we'll go over the different modes and you guys see. Okay, wait, let me take off this. 1 second, there we go. Okay, and the lav mic is now working. Today's guest, we'll have a few people come on. Right now, Brian is also so excited. Hey, welcome on. And so the A95L is here because I did not expect it to be out already. Classy texted me and said, hey, what's up? Look, it's out there. Why didn't you get it? I'm like, what? You're kidding. And it turns out it's local to me. So I went to the distribution warehouse. And I think that's the only way you're going to be able to buy it is when you click on find it near me on Best Buy, then it shows your local warehouse. Then you go and get it. But technically, you can't just add it to your cart. You have to actually pick it up physically at one of the local warehouses. Okay, so
how many times did you click that, by the way? When you clicked that, were you like clicking and give you 3? And you're like, oh, no, just 1. Is there like that PS5 quickness where you had to grab it before it was gone, you think?
Well, that's the thing. When I clicked it, I was telling Classy, go, hey, I can't, it doesn't look like I have it. He goes, no, you got to go and check the local warehouses. I go, oh, okay, I got it. Okay. Well, just like the S95C.
It's like Breaking Bad.
All right,
like
let's look at some super chats. I think we had a few, so let me scroll all the way to the top and make sure. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming by, and click like because we're going to have fun today. Believe you me, we're going to go over a few of the preliminaries and help you decide if you want to be early to the game, right? So, hey, oh, look at this giant super chat right here. I'm going to shrink it 1 second. There we go. Gotta size everything. All right, we got it. Hey, quickness, thank you for that super chat. Will the A95L beat the S95C or G3 in gaming? Oh, console gaming, PC gaming, what's your video card, what's your resolution? There's so much we have to address, and I think that's definitely a dedicated video. I have been holding back. He has that QM800B, which is Samsung's 8K flagship from last year, now, but want better performance. Love the Samsung Punch, but also love Sony accuracy and motion handling. Which should I get? Does Sony finally get gaming right? So the question first is, what did it get wrong with the A95K, right? Because if there's something specific about the A95K you didn't like, the question is whether A95L addresses that, whatever that may be. If it's the ability to go 4K 120 and Dolby Vision, then the A95L is supposed to add that later. Not available now, but it will be added later. But if it's something that's more specific, like 1440p at 120, the answer is no. Sony still doesn't do 1440p at 120. So definitely let us know specifically what are you looking for, and we'll get that. So let's go.
Well, I guess for quickness too, I think what we're asking too for the A95L, did they sneak in an extra HDMI 2.1? Is it the same SoC? I know that the game bars, this is supposed to be their game highest end. They may be adding some features to this that's not available on the other TVs. So we have to kind of wait and see. But I imagine if the game bar is similar to the other game bars from Sony this year, they're anemic in compared to LG, Samsung, even Hisense and TCL. So when I say it's a game TV, I think it's better than it's been. But Samsung and LG will still most likely have the edge in terms of feature set. And we'll see if OMO at some point. I'm sure you can show the game mode even if we're not gaming, but it's definitely going to be much better.
Absolutely. And quickness, thank you again for your generosity. Yeah, for that $50 super chat I posted earlier, I would really like to hear everyone's opinion. And Classy has a lot of opinions on this, and definitely Brian, right? Brian is a PC gamer. So I'm assuming, quickness, you're talking about PC gaming, or is it Xbox Series X or PS5? Because each one then has their own little thing, especially the Sony PS5. They have this special connection with Sony TVs, they say. So possibly their image quality on the Sony TVs may be a little bit different, but if it's PC, then let us know, are you gaming on an AMD? Are you gaming on a NVIDIA? Because if it's NVIDIA on a PC, NVIDIA and Samsung recently announced that HDR10 Plus gaming is available for NVIDIA cards, but then that's only that HDR10 Plus gaming feature is dynamic tone mapping is only available on Samsung TVs Q70 and higher and on Hisense this year. Maybe next year more TVs will be added. So let us know what
Well,
gaming, what type of games, right?
yeah.
Is it
Well, in
RPG?
quick,
Go ahead.
well, in quickness, no matter how good it is, those two other manufacturers, namely G3, or obviously LG and Samsung, will have again a more elaborate game bar, more gaming features, 144 hertz on Samsung. Not to mention the ability to change between 5 and 6 different gaming presets, which I love. That ability to change the game mode, especially on Samsung, you can make it look very, very different. So chances are you're still not going to be the best at gaming. The question will be, what else are you using it for? It might be the best looking game mode because it may be the best looking TV, but I still think even without going through it, I would still give the edge to LG and Samsung. So hopefully
Yeah.
that helped. If that's your only priority, I still would look elsewhere.
Okay. And just going through. The cam on my face is out of focus. Am I out of focus now?
A little
cam on
blurry. I
my
thought you
face
were using that. I thought you were using that wrinkle-free AI thing.
It is. There we go. The problem was I was fiddling with it, and then when I touched the screen, suddenly it put it into manual and focused whatever I touched. So there we go. Hopefully that's better. You are
All right,
sounding
606 in the chat.
so I
You
love
said
it.
like.
You sound great, but now you're out of focus. It's like, I can't win.
You're like, how do the TVs look?
How does the TV look, right?
He's like,
All right. I think there was another super chat. Classy put out a super chat real quick. I wanted to hit them all before we start going
I
to all
think
the
quickness
complaints.
might have hit another one too. I thought so.
Yeah. So let me scroll down. Oh, here we go. Hey, thanks, Classy, for the super chat. Camera will make G3 look blue. Correct. And QD OLED more red. In person, the G3 and S95C look the same and are calibrated for the comments about the whites. Yes. And also, if you see a pink tint, that actually might be accurate though. So, but I don't see it.
On the G3.
It doesn't happen that often. But occasionally, if it's a full white, there might be a touch of
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And
it's also, guys, when they're filmed together, the sensors pick them up differently. If you're filming it separately, they won't be as pink. We did that with our A95K comparison, right, Lisa? Why does my TV look pink? I'm like, it's just because the sensors of the two different cameras.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And so we're going to go over the settings real quick so we're all on the same page. But let me double check. So I think I am now in focus. And the audio is good. And we can start going over the various settings for each TV so you guys know where we're starting from. And then we'll take it from there. So as it's playing the Spears and Munsell at 1000 nit. So the Spears and Munsell is at 1000 nit right now. Yes, it is. Okay, so we'll start with the S95C real quick so you guys can see.
Now, FOMO, quickly, out of the box, were we still our normal standard out of the box from what you can recall? What can they expect out of the box?
Out of the box, you can expect just the skin tones are perfect out of the box on my TV.
Okay. And before we even go into the settings, tell the folks at home a little bit about the build quality, a little bit about the differences at all. We should jump.
Yes.
My boy's ready to jump in.
I'm just so ready to jump in. So
he's like,
those of you who, right, the reason why I put a green sticker is the X90L remote control is identical. So those of you who are getting X90L, guess what? Same remote as the A95L. So this year, I guess Sony's like, you know what? We'll give everyone a premium remote. So I had to make sure I know which is which. The X90L remote is the same.
So it's backlit or what? What is it?
It is backlit, and it has all the same. So X90L. It looks like from the X90L to the A95L, we'll have the same remote, it appears. The build quality, so I like this year's stands a little bit better. Last year you had that flat tilt that you can't put any sound bars, right? This year you have the legs that you can raise the height high enough to stick certain size sound bars below the TV or have the TV sit flat against the tabletop. And it's straight, it's not tilted or anything like that. But I do have it mounted next to the G3 so that it's up there. The build quality outside of that though is identical. Now it comes with a Bravia cam. I think,
Okay.
did it come with it
Uh,
last year? I thought it was a
I
separate.
thought it. I thought it did.
It did, right? So it
I
came
believe
again with it
Master
this
Series
year.
did.
And the audio should be better, but I didn't get a chance to test the audio. So that's something I'm going to have to follow up with later. So the build is what you would expect. Now the box is not any more robust than any other TV company, right? This box in particular, the TV is fairly light. It was pretty easy to pick up and throw out there. But nothing
Pick up
really,
and throw out the window. What's it for? How
nothing
much it
really
cost you?
stands out.
What's the price when you grab it 2 weeks before it comes out?
It's $3,500 right now, $3,499
All
Best
right,
Buy, and I think that's the
44.99.
MSRP. So MSRP is $34.99 because it just released. If you're waiting for Black Friday, you might get a gift card, $100 off, at most $200 off. And later, I'm going to bring Robert Zone on because he really wants to get you guys the Sony A95L. So we'll see what he can do
Yeah.
to hook you up, right? And the
Now, real quick,
77-inch. Go ahead.
before we go, FOMO, what was the price of the the G3 at launch and the S95C? Do we remember? Just to give a little bit of context on what the
Yeah,
pricing.
they actually all launched above at the 65-inch. I believe they all launched at around what, $3,000, just above 3,000. They're down. Well, actually, the same as the Sony. They all launched between 3,000 and 3,500 around there.
Okay. All
So
right.
the Sony is within 100 or two of the others at MSRP. The problem,
Okay.
as you and I always say, is once you give them enough time to discount, the G3 and the S95C are now at discounted street pricing Black Friday, and the A95L, well, it's at MSRP. So we'll see how quickly that goes.
It's not even out yet. Well, let's give FOMO a hand and also Classy a hand for one, the quick text, and then FOMO for jumping in his car real quick. I'm sure your family's like, "Where are you going?" You're like, "I'm going to a distribution center."
Right.
We got 638 in the chat. Everybody, please hit like. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight on this Saturday evening as we premiere the Sony A95L QD OLED last TV to release this year.
Okay, and I think Classy had us adjust the contrast to back up to 50 to give it max brightness, and there you have it. So that's a filmmaker mode. Any other questions, Brian, before I get to the settings of the G3, and then we'll get to the to the A95L?
No, I think we have it. We got the stage pretty much set. Let's see what it can do. I mean, again, for you guys in the chat, what are you expecting? What are your expectations for the A95L? I know for me, I was expecting them to bring a much brighter package this year and hopefully some other goodies for taking this long. Now, FOMO, do we have a different SoC than we know? Do we have 4 HDMI 2.1?
Okay, so we know it's only two. It is a new
Okay.
SoC. It's the new MediaTek Pentonic. MediaTek Pentonic, but the Pentonic only comes as 2 by 2.1, so 2 HDMI
Yep.
2.1. Sony would probably have to get a second MediaTek to make it
Yep.
4. The question
Yep.
is, they're thinking, I mean, do we really need to get 4?
No.
So that's a question for you guys. If you want 4, would you pay even more? Because Sony would have to get a custom chip or get 2 in order to make it 4, because the MediaTek, I believe, native is only 2. And this is why the Sony is 2.
So
right?
Rob Brennan told me the only reason why that Samsung, they developed their own, LG developed their own. If Sony wanted to have 4 HDMI 2.1s, you would have to have 2 SoCs, or as FOMO said, develop a custom, which they would have to pass on to the consumer. And since they already buy the panels from both LG and Samsung, it'd be very hard to not make the TV that much more expensive. For you guys, is that a deal breaker? For me, as a gamer, I have a PS5, an Xbox Series X, and a PC. I do use all of the HDMI 2.1s, and I don't like using splitters. So let me know for you guys, is that a big deal for you? And again, what are your expectations for the A95L?
Yes.
We got TKK in the house. What's up, brother?
And just to let you guys know, the LG G3, standard, brightness, nothing special. Dynamic tone mapping is off. It's in filmmaker mode. Brightness and contrast on max. This is what I normally use for HDR anyway. This has been calibrated. The S95C has also been calibrated. And now we get to the Sony. Let's see what mode it's in.
Damn, Quickness spending all kinds of money, bro.
So it is in professional mode.
Damn.
And the professional mode is supposed to be the most accurate. So we'll play with cinema and professional for you guys to see. So it's in professional mode. I love the calm mode, right? As you can see, calm mode drops the brightness by a bit. Professional, let's say, jump to cinema. See, hardly any difference, if any. I don't see, I think there's a slight shift, maybe in the white balance, but I'm gonna have to have more whites to see that. So we'll leave it in professional for now. Brightness is max, and let me go into the picture settings so you guys can see. Now everything is at default. I haven't played with it other than select professional mode, so you can see at default how it looks. So max, 90
So
is by
FOMO,
default.
dynamic tone mapping is what on the G3 and
Is
the
gradation
S95C?
preferred? Dynamic tone
Okay.
mapping is off on the G3, and it's
And then the
infinity mode.
S95C were in static, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the S95C is on static, correct. Peak luminance on the Sony is on high. Let's make sure live color is off. Yes. Color temperature expert 1 is supposed to be the most accurate out of the box. And clarity, let's turn off all of the noise reduction, all off.
Guys, thank you for the
And
super chats. He'll get back to those when he gets back to the screen. We will not forget about you, I promise.
yep. And motion flow, we're not going to really measure motion or anything like that, but just so you guys see, it's all on minimum and clearness is on low. And all right, so we
Same
have
presets, FOMO. We have custom. We have what graphics. We have the same.
so
Anything new?
we don't have custom. Professional has replaced custom now. So
Mm-hmm.
professional is the calibrator's choice, and then you have cinema. And well, at the shootout, we'll find out what is the difference out of the box between cinema and custom. And as you can see, there is a slight latency on the Sony compared to the G3 and S95C from the source. Now, this is in its picture modes. In game mode, there shouldn't be latency. So
Okay.
maybe we could test that at the end. Let me see if there's latency between the source and the Sony. We can go to game mode, but this is pretty consistent with all the Sony TVs, is from the source to the TV. You can see that the Sony is like a slight millisecond or so off.
I'm going to send Rob Brennan a message, tell him that we're actually doing this right now. Maybe he'll jump in.
Oh yeah, make him nervous.
I'm sure he's busy, but
And thank you again for the super chat quickness. Love supporting you guys. Keep up the good work. Hey, we love you guys for coming on for sure. Thank you so much.
Quickness had another one, I think, too. I may got
Yes.
the ATM
Oh,
machine.
there was another one. Okay, let me go up a bit. Man, you guys are just. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
Dang.
Ultimately, thank you for that super chat. Your generosity is much appreciated. Quickness says, ultimately, I play way too much PS5 and Series X. Strictly. That's good. So the PS5, maybe some magic's going to happen with the A95L. On the Q900B, it's clear, but have backlight motion issues. Yes, that is the case with non-OLED TVs. And have been holding off for the Sony A95L. And just want the best gaming TV between S95C or A95L. Which should I get at the 77-inch size? So, the occasional complaint from those with the S95C are dropouts for whatever reason. Is it overheating? Is it just the One Connect box? It's just a sus connection. And some people don't complain at all. So this is a complaint that possibly because the S95C is so popular, more people are getting it, they're seeing this issue. A95K, I haven't heard any complaints about dropouts, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So this is something that anecdotally, that's what I'm hearing. But we'll have to wait until more people get the A95L to see about those kind of, some people call it QC issue. We really don't know. But as far as feature for feature, the PS5, didn't you say, Brian, 1440p is something on the PS5 that is supported? They don't.
I don't. Not on Sony. I don't think they have it yet.
Okay.
I don't. I'm not sure. From the past, they haven't had it. I do know the dropouts that I've heard a lot with the S95 is the 144 hertz.
The
A lot of
144.
PC custom resolutions, so that shouldn't really affect you.
But he's a PS5 and Series X gamer strictly. So the PS5, so the A95L,
they play nice.
Good, right?
Yeah, it should play nice. I mean, the auto low maintenance, I think it has that instant calibration mode or the always HDR mode. The PS5 enables it. But as a console gamer, I mean, it's a great choice, but I still will refer back to both Samsung and LG having the other presets. I like having different presets, and I like what I call flexibility of image, meaning I love having different looking game modes. Sony's biggest compromise in gaming is the game mode isn't very flexible. Even the A90J and the OLEDs, they are what they are. You really can't make them look all that different. If you love the way the game mode looks, I'm sure it'll be amazing, but I just don't like that I can't make the game mode look more realistic for one game and more cartoony for a cartoony type game. So just know, even with the A95L, chances are you're still going to have the same kind of looking game mode. On the A80L, it looks great. You just can't change it quickness. So if you're into really customizing the image, Sony will not be the choice for you.
And
I can say that confidently.
what I like about the Sony is, I think you could edit the dashboard a bit, so you could have all the different.
All four of them.
Whatever you need. So I removed a bunch of them as well, right? But I think what I also liked was that Sony provided a feature where you can see what you're watching in terms of the
Split screen.
resolution. Is it SDR? Is it HDR? And I completely forgot how to get there again. It popped up earlier. I'm like, oh wait, I did it. Wait, how did I get there again? So
during regular play. Okay,
yeah, when you're playing anything, right, you
information
can
button.
check. You can see what resolution is in, and all the good stuff. I'll figure it out.
We got 700 watching. Damn.
Oh, you guys are awesome.
Jesus.
So this is at 1,000 nits, and at 1,000 nits, really all three TVs should look very similar, just so you guys know. And what's amazing to me is that Sony is not calibrated, but it looks so spot on more often than not. And the subtle differences are way too subtle. So for those of you who don't plan to get it calibrated, the A95L just nails it. Both skin tones and whatever you see here, it's crazy. It's crazy accurate. And some people are saying they noticed that the Sony looks even sharper, and it's quite possible, right?
All right.
All right,
now, how many guys in this 7 or almost 700 people, how many of you guys were actually waiting for the A95L? Not just out of curiosity, but like quickness, were you ready to make this purchase? As since CES, many of you are ready to go. Have any of you been waiting specifically for the A95L to make your purchase? Let us know in the comments.
And we have an answer. There's a 1, 2, 3 button. We're talking about the Sony. On the Sony, how do I find the? Because I don't see a 1, 2, 3 button on the Sony. I only see
Sony you have the wrench. You should have menu. You should have.
I have the wrench, and then
there's a shortcut one that's It might be the wrench. That's your that's the settings, but there should be another one that shows the source.
This is the wrench.
Okay, then there should be menu.
Oh, here we go. Maybe this one.
Is that the one? No, that shows you. That's home, I think. I can't see.
That is the new input one. So I'll take that off.
There's another shortcut one.
I will find it.
Oh wait,
there's a gear.
I think that's the Google. There's one that just it shows you what you're watching, the source. Is that what you're looking for?
I'm looking for the source details. Resolution is SDR, HDR. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Big C-Dub. YouTube compression makes it really hard to tell the difference. All of them look basically the same. Which set seems the brightest to your eyes? So here's the good news for you, Big C-Dub. The compression doesn't affect the brightness differences as much as resolution and color, possibly. So at 1,000 nit, they should all be the same. All three TVs are very capable of these scenes in 1,000 nits. What I'm going to do is go up to 10,000 nits. Actually, let's go up to 10,000 nits. And
just
you guys
jump to 10,
see.
bro.
I'm going to jump to 10.
10, baby. Don't even stop in the middle.
We're going to start it again, and you guys we'll start to see the differences right now. Actually, this is a good segue. Thanks, C-Dub. This is just for you, man. So you're going to see the differences. I'm going to adjust the exposure so you can see the. As you can see now, it's just way overexposed because all the TVs are way bright. Something adjusted.
I'm gonna send Rob the see if we can get him on. I'll send him the link.
What's interesting? Okay, there was scenes where I see that the S95C is actually less saturated than the Sony and the G3, so it's very cool. But yeah, so we'll go back a bit, and you guys are going to see. And yes, the S95C is 77 inches.
Big boy TV for FOMO. Proud of you, baby.
I'll just do this, it'll be faster.
So back to that question, are any of you guys were you waiting for this in order to purchase it? Let's see.
So we're now at
I did.
10,000 nits. And I'm going to show you this big C-dub because YouTube compression will not be able to hide this. This is where the A95L in HDR10, I think this is a good one.
So we have quite a few people, FOMO, in here waiting to buy it.
Waiting to
Game
buy
enthusiasts.
it.
Yeah.
There is definitely some caveats for you guys waiting
Except
to buy
for Leo.
it.
Leo's all set.
Know what it is.
I know Lisa's buying it, right? Lisa, 77?
Oh, I think Lisa's
77.
already got it. She's going to be like, it's in her car. She just hasn't told us yet.
She's got it in the back seat. A lot of you guys are waiting for it. Wow. Jesse, I almost bought the S95C until I learned about those HDMI port problems. George Michael is back. Another guy called me George Michael. Gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. I gotta have. You obviously don't tune in too much, bro. I'm here every week. Gotta have faith. Who else we got in the house?
Okay, so right here,
wow.
I'm going to lower the exposure a little bit.
David Whelan, I hope you get a good one, brother. Oh, Lisa said she's waiting for you to give the caveats, bro.
This is the caveat right here.
Uh-oh. There's going to be a white knuckle in it. Who was white knuckling at that time we did the QM8?
So above 1,000 nits, the HDR10 is not tone mapped. I'm sorry, the Sony A95L is not tone mapping HDR10 at 10,000 nits well at all compared to the Samsung and the LG. And the Sony has like some funky color thing happening at 10,000. So if you go down to 2,000, it's not any better. Now, 1,000 looks great. Above 2,000 HDR10, and we'll go and you'll see what the tone mapping is. It's at gradation preferred. So it doesn't matter if I change it to brightness preferred or gradation preferred, right? So it's struggling with content above, compared to the S95C. Now the G3 is not that much better because it's also slightly struggling, but the A95L is the worst of the three TVs in the scene. And you go to this one with our famous horses. This is where the horses are they do so well. They serve a great purpose.
Well, guys, keep in mind too, this is early days. I mean, this was picked up yesterday. I imagine the A95L will probably have 2 or 3 updates by the time you guys buy it. And no super chat acknowledgement quickness. I mean, he'll get back to the super chats in a second. He's away from the screen right now.
So before you get back to super chat, you see Big Dub on YouTube. You can see this difference. You see the Sony at 2,000 nits. It's just the details are gone. And if I go down to 1,000, it'll come back. So all three will look identical. And this is why streaming, don't worry about it. They'll all look fine. This is why streaming companies, you're asking, why don't streaming companies push content brightness? It's because of this. It's HDR10. You have your $3,500 Sony. You're like, it looks like crap.
Yeah.
And so you blame the streaming company, when in actuality, those with the G3 and this S95C, it will look slightly better. But, and I spoke with Classy at length about this, in Dolby Vision, the Sony does fine. So we're going to look at Dolby Vision later, and you'll see. With the A95L, if you have bright scenes, it has to be Dolby Vision. It doesn't do well with HDR10 at that high nit level. And I think you should, I mean, I have the YouTube monitor here, so I can see that on YouTube. You can see the difference, right? So let me turn the exposure back up again for you guys. So it's very unfortunate. This was a problem with the A95K as well. I thought they would have fixed it, but they didn't. So just something to keep in mind. All right. You said there was another.
Now, Lisa's saying at that loss of detail, is it just at that nit level? Meaning when you get back to even 2,000 nits, it all kind of gets back to normal.
Thanks for the super chat. So what? Sorry, what did Lisa say?
So just before what Lisa had said, is that just at that nit level, at regular viewing, even 2,000 nits, is it fine?
Yeah, so below 2000, let's say a 1000, if it's graded no higher than 1000, all the specular highlights and everything, it is absolutely fine. And 100% of streaming content right now is at that 1000 nit level or below. Don't worry about it. But even then, Classy said if you watch Netflix and you have Dolby Vision and non-Dolby Vision, and you can see it, I'm going to put up Netflix, that very scene. The non-Dolby Vision, even on the A95L or the A95K, it blew it out, it clipped it, but in Dolby Vision, it looked great. So we'll see if
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
A95K does that later. So we're gonna check, we're gonna double check that because The Witcher, that scene might be extraordinarily bright, unusually bright for streaming content, Lisa. And we'll see if the A95L addresses that in HDR10. But in Dolby Vision, it should not be an issue. So that's something for those of you who are Dolby Vision fans. It's always on Dolby Vision.
Yeah.
A95L in Dolby Vision looks great. But in content that's native HDR10 with no Dolby Vision option and is super bright, you might have issues with clipping on the high end.
Now, Fomon, you may have acknowledged this, but the G3 is calibrated, correct?
Yes, the G3
The
is calibrated.
S95C is calibrated as well.
Correct.
Okay, so
Oh,
I'm dying
speaking.
to see. I'm dying to see that sun dipping on the water bluish scene where the sun is really bright. I want to see just that for specular highlights.
At
If
what,
you get a chance,
at what brightness?
I would say. Well, I mean, the 10,000. Do we have a 4,000 on
See,
this
we
bad
already
boy?
know at 10,000, the Sony may not look that great.
Yeah,
So
let's
here's
do.
the issue, right? Is we're gonna go at 1,000 and you guys see how similar they are. And then the question is, why should
Yeah,
you get the Sony if it looks so
yeah.
similar? But then the G3 and the S95C are calibrated. The Sony is not. So if you don't want calibration, it looks great, guaranteed out of the box. Then you have the Sony A95L. And Dolby
Did we
Vision.
grab these? Did we grab these super chats where we get too backed up?
Yes, let's
We
do
got.
that.
I think we got to. I can't see him on this thing as well. 728 watching. Thank you guys for being in here tonight. Really,
Here
really
we go.
appreciate it.
As in handles, is the UI laggy on the native apps such as YouTube? No. So far, it looks pretty snappy. Did you have lagginess on your Sony as in handles? Let us know which Sony TV you felt the lag. This is very snappy as far as UI in general. I went through some of the internal apps earlier. It felt fine. So, and it wasn't an issue for me in the A95K either, just so you know.
So hold on a second before you go to the next one.
Right.
I feel like we're the media, right? Because right away my boy Steve Coates jumps in. He goes, "Oh my God, FOMO! I just tuned in. Am I hearing this right? The A95L is bumming out." So if you just hop off right now, you're like, "Ah, I think it's a piece of crap.
Oh,
Have
that's
a good
it. I'm
night."
done.
It's like a 3 hour live stream. I stopped it for 3 seconds. Yeah, whatever. And for those of you that are watching, the LG will look blue on camera. It's just a different technologies. The sensors pick them up differently, and the QD OLEDs will always push pink. If we got them one at a time, they wouldn't show that. But if you see a cooler look on the G3, it'll look blue, and the QD OLEDs will always look a bit pink. That is just a sensor on the cameras. They're not pink in person.
And thank you, Quickness, for the super chat. He wants to thank our community. Thank you so much for the info, guys. Sony made it sound earlier in the year that they have
That's the scene
made
right there. Pause it.
big gaming changes. I'm done after this.
Well, I mean, quickness. I mean, don't go too far. If I want to go back to that scene, I wouldn't. I can't really say that yet. Quickness that they haven't made big changes. Dolby Vision gaming is a big thing for them. It's not a big thing for me. I'm glad that they have it, but we have to dig into it. My response to what you're saying, though, is again, I really like having the different presets to choose from. I mean, I like having the ability to change the image. They're light years better than they were, but I'm not. I haven't even seen the TV yet. I'll game on it in a few weeks at Value Electronics, and I'll let you know. But I think no matter what they do, Samsung and LG are just the pioneers in that regard. So I mean, I'm not sure how big. I'm not sure what changes you were looking for, but I think they're making big jumps. But is it going to be where the others are? I don't think so. They've just started kind of taking that really serious the last 2 years.
So I was going to stop here real quick for you guys, and I was going to show you something. I just love this scene because of the white clouds, but
Stop shilling for the G3. Are you out of your mind?
what am I shilling the G3?
Apparently I'm shilling for the G3. Oh my
Hey,
God.
I'll be showing right now, right? So in 1,000 nits, they all look very similar. What's interesting though, this part of the scene will differ greatly in Dolby Vision at 10,000 nits. So this is not Dolby Vision 10,000 nits, but in Dolby Vision 10,000 nits, the Sony so aggressively tone maps it down so you can see every detail. It feels like that area on the Sony is only 1,000 nits, whereas the G3 is actually pushing hard to get it bright and popping as close to quote unquote 10,000 nits as possible. So even in Dolby Vision, the Sony really is erring on the side of giving you all the detail rather than pushing it a little bit harder like the G3 for a bit more of that HDR impact. So at the shootout, we're going to play with some scenes where you get to max out a bit. But that's just something to think about. Sony is still, again, very aggressive in keeping all its detail. And this is, again, in professional mode. When we go to vivid or something that is supposed to be bright and punchy, we'll see how bright the Sony can get. So we will do that later for sure.
So FOMO, what do you think? Do you think you like that they try to still keep the details, or what do you think that's a minus for you? What are your thoughts on it? Like, I mean, the other
So
one's pushing too hard. Are they overcompensating, or you like what the Sony's doing?
well, so here's the thing: is people are asking for more nits, more brightness, but so if the Sony comes out saying we're quote unquote, twice as bright or 50% brighter, whatever it is, when you're saying you're brighter, but then your software is so aggressive, what's the point? Like, where is this brightness, right? So if
Yeah.
you're saying you're that bright, then you have to tell us specifically, okay, we're brighter, but the general APL, like the whole scene is a little bit brighter as it should be. We're not pushing specular highlights because people expect the specular highlights to be brighter, but it isn't. And in the bright scenes, then it's not tone mapping properly. And in Dolby Vision 10,000 nit, it's very aggressive in pulling it back compared to the G3. So I don't understand, right? Because
All right,
this
hold on. I think we have our guy for the whole stream. I don't know if you can put him up because he has a swear word. Where'd it go? Somebody pre-ordered it and said I'm coping. Where the hell did it go? It was like I'm pre-ordering it. I'm coping. I'm crapping my pants. Don't. I mean, again, these are early days. I think it's Garrett Herman. What did he say? He said,
okay, so
I'm coping. Thought I ordered the A95." All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
hey, Brendan, thank you for that super chat. You guys and TKK have been incredibly helpful for me. Yes, we are a fan of TKK as well.
Yep, he's the
Getting the
man.
77-inch S95C soon for around $1,350. What?
Damn, we got the
$1,350?
AAA, baby, doing the whole thing.
No, even the AAA, 77-inch, man, something is happening. So
You're
maybe he's
combining
getting it.
everything.
He's buying it from TKK. Best
Yeah,
Buy Samsung
TKK's like, oh my God,
Specials
Miles.
has its perks. Yes. Hey, if you can get a 77-inch for $1,350, get it. It's a
Oh
better
my
deal than
God,
any of these
S95C is
TVs.
amazing.
Thank you for sharing, Brennan.
If you guys see TKK in there, go back to his channel, hit him up. Great dude, great content. A man's working hard out here.
Okay, I want to get to...
We got 724 in the chat, guys. Please take a second and hit like. FOMO is really working on this. FOMO, real quick before you even answer that super
Yes.
chat. Actually, answer that one and then I'll ask you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Raphael, thank you for the super chat. Quickie, where does the S90C stand at 2600 versus the 3? So 2600 is the 77-inch. It is so close to the S95C 77-inch, which is what you see here. I would get the S90C without a second thought. The S95C is slightly, we're talking side by side, I see it slightly brighter in certain sports scenes, sports mode, and in some HDR content, it's arguable that the specular highlight could be brighter because they're next to each other and I see it on my meter. But S90C essentially is 99.9% of the S95C. And if you're a gamer, you get more consistency. The S90C 77-inch gives you the most value because you're guaranteed a second generation panel that's identical to what I have without all the sus issues of the One Connect box. I like the One Connect box's convenience, but I do not like that extra point of failure. The One Connect box, to me, is
Very
a
true.
possible point of failure. And
Absolutely.
having everything inside the TV on the S90C works well. I think it is phenomenal at 77-inch. And if you can get it for Well, it will be less than 2,600, I guarantee you, on Black Friday. It is the TV to get at 77 inches. And it's my editor's choice for a reason. So thank you for that. Okay, Brian, what were you saying?
So quickly, here we are at 6:30. We have 719 in the chat. Again, please take a second to hit like. Now, FOMO, quickly before any other analysis, what I want from you right now is your quick thoughts on your impressions, just personally seeing it from when you unboxed it, when you set it up. We're going to go into more because FOMO, what I love about what he does with these side by sides is when I talked to him earlier today, he was just setting it up. So he's kind of giving you his impressions while he's doing it versus spending the whole night filming it. So he does this on purpose. We started this last year with the S95B, where we kind of together were like, oh my God. So FOMO, quickly, when you get a chance, just give me your very quick impressions, what you think so far. And no, the A95L is not calibrated. The G3 is calibrated. S95C is
Also,
calibrated.
also calibrated.
Also
So
calibrated. So your quick, give me your
this,
just your thoughts.
yeah, the first thing I did was throw on skin tones like this, right? And I was immediately struck by how natural it looked. This, I mean, natural meaning, wow, it looks just like the other two TVs in terms of its accuracy. So not necessarily, and the white point's very close, by the way, but just the skin tones. I was like, wow, they nailed it. I mean, these difficult skin tones, right? Pale faces where an extra blush is very noticeable or an extra bit of green is very noticeable. There is no extra reds, which is very noticeable on the Samsung before calibration or the QM8, even after calibration, or the Hisense before calibration, right? The Sony, now obviously, panel lottery being what it is, but guys, this is out of the box, no calibration. The skin tone is nailed, and I think that's the most important thing for those of you who don't plan to get it calibrated. The skin tones is where it hurts TVs because you will immediately see that, okay, something is very unnatural with deep purple lips. Why does that person look like he smokes 2 packs a day, right? These, yeah. The A95L looks more like the S95C to me, which I think looks more natural. The G3 still to me looks a little bit green, even after calibration.
Okay.
Sony does not. And you could probably see it, I'm looking on YouTube, and you could slightly see that on YouTube as well. So ignore the cool white in the background. Her skin tone is slightly green. I see that as well. The Sony and the S95C are more similar. And again, the Sony is not calibrated, right? This is just its standard professional mode.
Yep.
So these are really difficult skin tones, and this is why they chose the skin tones, right? And most of us buy TVs to stream on it, watch movies, shows, and whatever. And you're going to be very sensitive to the skin tones of the various movies and whatnot. So, but you can see that the Sony, the white point, they want to make it slightly brighter. So it is slightly bluer, and I think it's intentional, but it doesn't affect the skin tone. So the way they tuned it, you get the whiter walls, because you say this, Brian, I don't like D65 because it looks kind of, what is this, like boring maybe? The Sony white point is that white a lot of consumers want, right? The D65 they feel is too warm, right? The A95L is right in between the S95C and, in this case, the G3. The G3 to me has a bit of that whiteness. The Sony is in between the two, and it's not because of too much of my sensor either. I'm seeing it as well. So, it's all three TV looks phenomenal, by the way, but when you have them side by side, if I can get it out of the box like this, A95L all day long. The question though is, how bright can it get in sports and the other stuff that people want the A95L improvements, because you guys are not going to see the brightness if you go to something like TV shows and SDR. It's all going to be the same brightness. Or streaming content that was graded 800 nits or lower. It's all going to look the same. And Joe wants you to know, Brian, I don't know, man, Westinghouse looks pretty good right now. And it's less than 500 bucks.
We should do a Westinghouse unboxing.
And Classy, which dark purplish sky? I'll go there right now. And then we're going to do some real content after this as well. So you guys are, I know you've seen the Spears and Muscle so much.
I think we have another super chat we missed, FOMO.
Okay.
It's hard to see on they're all black on here. And
okay, when you guys see the purple sky, just yell it out, right? Classic, just yell it out. Okay, let me go down to the super chat. Oh, Quick Nas is on a roll. Yeah. Thank you again, my friend. Respect. Can you get me an invite to the shootout? Pretty please. Email Robert Zone. So Robert Zone has a limited number of tickets to the public that he's being allowed to sell. Email him, right? And explain to him what your situation is, and he's going to vet you to make sure you're serious and you're not just there to stalk Brian, because Brian has a few fans that think he's just, a little bit too handsome.
Stop it. Stop it. I'm in this
but definitely
bright ass apartment.
Go to Value Electronics website. He has his information on that website. Not Brian, but Robert Zone. And just tell him you want to go, and they'll vet you. And if there are tickets left, absolutely, you'll be there.
Are you guys excited for the shootout? Hopefully we get as many of you guys watching the shootout.
I'm definitely excited. Let me turn down the exposure a bit. It's a bit hot here. There we go. So yeah, as we go through that, so let me go down some more questions. So we're going to be here and try to stay as long as we can to answer your questions and then explore some of the things that might be unique to the A95L, which should be its brightness, I believe.
Now, guys, as we're again asking these questions of you, what were your expectations? I mean, we all say this, that, oh, I guess it didn't have the A95K does not have the camera. I thought it did. Realistically, even the best TVs in the world are always very, very close.
Yeah.
So that's a great scene right there, FOMO.
This one, the purple sky, is this the one?
I don't know if that's the purple sky, but I love that scene. To see the G3
the purple sky.
Stop right, yeah.
Okay, we'll pause.
I always find this interesting to see which one actually shows the outline, which one is blown out, if they look any different, FOMO.
All right.
They look about the same.
Let me go through all the questions here real quick. So Lisa says she does not hook up the Bravia cam, and I understand why. I feel a little paranoid hooking that up too. I mean, it claims to help with ambient lighting and matching, blah, 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 but I'm always wondering, you know what? Are you watching me? Because I have no idea if you are or not, especially if it's connected to the internet. And if you have a hacker, let's say it's not even Sony, right? It's nothing Sony's doing that's malicious, but if a hacker gets a hold of your feed, guess what? Suddenly your living room is being broadcast to the rest of wherever they're hacking to, right? The rest of Russia.
And that can be dicey depending on your habits.
I
catch you eating cheeseburgers, catch you eating pizza, wiping Doritos on your shirt, stuff like that. Gotta keep it simple.
And
guys.
Second gen panel, 100%, 77-inch, 65 and 55. I don't know how to verify if or if not whether it is. Okay, let's go down.
Sony has the best audio.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, in this scene...
Them cheeseburgers on the camera, baby.
We're going to go to just 10,000 so you guys can see when you're pushed to specular highlights, what the TVs do, right? And the G3 actually appears, it will appear to be the brightest. But it has the least color. The Sony has the most color at 10,000 nits. So in this scene, the Sony appears to have tone mapped everything perfectly, bringing the orange and the color. It has more saturation in that most orange part of the scene. Okay. More saturation than either the G3, which is the brightest, but it feels very unsaturated bright, like a very yellow with not as much orange. And the S95C is bright, but it doesn't have the level of orange as the Sony. So in not every scene, the Sony clips hard, but then that scene is not super bright where that area is. So it could be within the tone mapping ability of the Sony, but the Sony looks good. And it has, now remember the Sony isn't calibrated though. So compared to the calibrated TVs, I still prefer the Sony in this case, right?
I think
So
the next one has that sun and the blue water FOMO. Is it the next one?
the next one,
The next one is my favorite.
yeah,
I want to see any beavers. Nope, not that one. I think it's after this one.
yeah, and this is where the G3, it's just it clips a lot of that detail that's in both the Sony and the S95C, but the Sony has more color than the S95C. I'll turn down the exposure so you guys can see that. I don't know how well you can see that, but the Sony has both color and detail that the S95C lacks, and the G3 clips most of that out in the 10,000 nit content.
Okay, so the processing is doing its job.
It's doing its job. It just depends on the scene. So you saw the horse scene and in some of the clouds, above a certain brightness, the Sony just falls apart. Within this brightness, it's able to do it. So we're going to look at The Witcher and see if it can do
FOMO,
that.
it seems like that brightness though, that all white is kind of a rare shot anyway, right? I mean, that's just that same horse fence, white clouds, snow. Not a lot of content like that.
Yeah.
Where's my scene? There it is. That's my shot.
That is your shot. Okay.
That's my shot. Favorite one on the whole disc.
All three TV looks phenomenal to me. What is it you're looking for, Brian? Or
just the detail in the sun is one of them. What's the detail? Does one appear brighter than the other?
No.
Which one?
Without pulling out a meter.
Amazing.
Yeah, without pulling out a meter, I can't tell that one is any brighter than the other. So let me.
So like by eye, even if you had say a Z9K or one of these really bright TVs, it's amazing how the OLED will have a different specular highlight. You can see the difference. Yeah. But these three seem to be, and for the G3 to be a different technology, it's pretty amazing that it's right there.
What I'm going to do
James?
is, if Classy is still on, he wants to jump on, and that's the least I could do for him in return for him giving me a heads up. Thank you, Classy. If you're still there, go ahead and jump on, and you can navigate, because there's something that he wanted to share with some of these scenes. So if you're still there, Classy, come on by. Hey, Amir, thank you for the super chat, my friend.
What's up, Amir?
I got a new S95C 55-inch 1500 in my country. That is actually pretty good. Most countries outside the US is way expensive, which is weird. With a 2-year warranty, congratulations, another win. And after this early impression video, I think it is the better deal. Oh, 1500, it is definitely a great deal. Okay, you're seeing the images. In content, the S95C and the Sony are just so similar that if they weren't side by side, there's no way you're going to distinguish between the two. It just doesn't work that way, you know?
Well, Amir, thanks for coming by, because I think Amir, our last live stream, not the last one, the one before that was his first one. Thanks for coming back, brother.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Coming back. So this is what Classy is talking about. Let me look at the gradient to see if there's any banding. So I'll turn up the exposure a bit for you guys. Let's see. The Sony looks good. It doesn't look any different than the others. The G3, I mean, I'm pixel peeping now, and
that's what we do. Guys, in the chat, let me know what you guys are thinking. What are you seeing? So far. Now, seeing these results for a lot of you guys, the A95L being more expensive, even if they're close, does that push you back towards the S95C?
Where it goes from the orange to the blue, the LG has a very subtle layer of banding. Very subtle right here. There is a slight pixelation between where the orange becomes blue, and the Sony doesn't have that. So the Sony image processing there, whether it's because of the QD OLED or its image processor, that's a whole other matter. But you guys have to see, I had to step up close to look at that. From here, there's no way I can see it. But from 3 or 4 feet away, okay, now that I know what to look for, I do see it. And that's something I think that you guys, if you guys are already aware of that, that's what you were looking for. But other than that, there's no obvious banding or anything like that. And we'll get to real content as well, guys. We're just going to go through some of these scenes. And I'll show you also in the Ferris wheel scene where
it's a good scene too.
It's unique to QD OLED, which is there's a certain blue. Oh.
What's up, Majid? How you doing, brother?
So in that one, the S95C is less saturated than the Sony, just so you guys can see. Where the cloud is the most orange. You see the center of the screen? The Sony actually looks more like the G3, which is very interesting.
Absolutely.
The orange looks very similar to the G3, whereas the S95C is a little bit less saturated. But again, without a reference monitor, we don't know which is right, you know?
Now, FOMO, are you disappointed that they're so similar? Or were you expecting things to be much different?
Well, actually, I'm so impressed they're so similar because the Sony is not calibrated, right? So those of you who just joined us, both my G3 and S95C were calibrated, and the Sony is not. The Sony's just out of the box, straight into professional mode, didn't play with any of the settings, just straight default, and it looks this phenomenal. So for those of you who do not want to deal with settings, you just want to go one change, which is which picture mode should it be in. You go into professional picture mode, you're done, right? This is it.
Now we get into real content. We're going to jump into different presets, guys, as well. So
yes, we're going to see how it looks in the various modes for sure. And Classy will join us after getting a drink. When he says getting a drink, I hope it's not a rum and coke. Then we'll finally get Classy, the real Classy. Hey, Brian King. It's like Lion King, Brian King. I get it. Really didn't like the S95C in day lighting conditions. Does the A95L also have raised blacks? You know, I don't know, but we'll see at the shootout. The problem is, well, you know what? We will see it in some of this content. I'll have some dark content. We'll see if it has raised black. Does the LG MLA also raise blacks under ambient light? Actually, no. The LG MLA crushes near black. And we have Classy joining us. There we go. Let me throw him in there. Hey, there he is.
What's
hey,
up,
buddy.
Brother?
Hey, how's it going? Oh, my light's not on.
Pretty good, pretty good. I was just finishing this question.
Shadows, bro.
Brian King wanted to know if MLA also has raised black under ambient light. And the LG doesn't have raised blacks under ambient light. However, ambient or dark lighting, the LG MLA out of the box has crushed near black. So that's something for you to think about. No TV is perfect, my friend. And Lisa's got a super chat. Lisa, oh, you're so generous. You don't have to. How much does that issue with the Sony in the highness mean for everyday viewing? Can it be fixed with firmware? So Lisa, we're going to look at The Witcher, the scene that we're seeing this in. So I know if you are a Netflix fan and you have Netflix, but it's in Dolby Vision, you probably won't see this. But I'm going to feed it through my Chromecast at HDR10. And then we'll see it where it's in HDR10. But if you're watching Netflix natively on the TV, which 90% of people are doing now, you probably won't notice it. So that's something for a lot of you to consider is when you see my comparison of The Witcher, like, oh, how come I don't see this? What's wrong with FOMO's TV? It's because I'm feeding it HDR10 so that you could see it on the S95C as well. But if it was to be Dolby Vision, I'll feed that in Dolby Vision. And then you can see the G3, the Sony A95L, how they treat Dolby Vision differently. The G3 and A95L do treat Dolby Vision slightly different. And the G3 appears to push it harder, so you have better specular highlights, which I like. But then who's accurate, right? Now, Classy, I know you've been looking into this. I mean, is there even an argument about accuracy at that point? Like, does it matter? You just buy for preference?
Well, all right. So, what I was saying on my stream earlier, leading up to this, someone said I was louder than you guys, so let me know if I need to get further away. But with HDR content, there's two ways to look at it. You have your accurate HDR, which on all these displays is going to look pretty much the same, and that's what you're seeing. The luminance in HDR is should look identical in terms of brightness. And then if it is a highlight, it depends on how highly graded that highlight is. So Avatar 2 was only graded to 300 nits. So if you're watching Avatar 2 trying to compare TVs, like it's not accurate if one is brighter than the other. Um, so I was also talking about like John Wick 4. That's a 1,000 nit movie. So if you watch that on all these, you're going to see color differences, you're going to see shadow detail differences, but any brightness differences really shouldn't be there if they're accurate. And since the S95C and G3 are calibrated, the A95L, if it's the same brightness, then that's a good thing. That means it's accurate. But then you have the people who want to raise the EOTF and make everything brighter and have a higher APL brightness. And then that's where you go into the inaccurate modes and start messing with settings to see how bright you can make all the midtones.
And we can do
So,
that. And that's what I think where the Sony's supposed to be, the A95L is supposed to be strong is it's punchy modes. Brian's fun mode is more fun on the A95L than ever before. So we'll see how fun it gets. Hey, thanks,
yeah,
TieStar, for the super
like
chat. If you have a question, let us know. Go ahead.
yeah, like in the past, that was always Samsung's thing. They were raising
Yeah.
EOTF to be brighter than everyone else. This
Yep.
year, the G3 actually came out and beat the Samsung in that regard. If you put it in Cinema Home, you turn on expression, brightness, you turn everything on, the G3 is brighter than the S95C. So, that was LG outdoing Samsung in their own game. No idea where the Sony is going to be in this, but typically Sony is more conservative when it comes to that.
And just real quick on the super chat, thank you, Monster, another regular. The A95L is like that cool couple turning up late to the prom just to make a scene.
That's a pretty good analogy. Like, oh my God, did this thing just start?
Hey, did they just come
They
in?
go right to
Everyone
get their
stop.
picture taken, then they go back in the parking lot. That's a great analogy.
Question, what are the chances of Samsung buying or developing MLA to make QD OLED MLA? And how bright would that be? So let's go into the real quick because super chat, you deserve it, you've earned it. The MLA that Samsung is currently using is designed for their RGB OLED phones. So it cannot directly translate into QD OLED TVs. However, LG is using the right type of MLA for OLED TVs. The question is whether Samsung is willing to license it. Well, first, one, will it benefit Samsung? If it does, two, will LG's MLA, can it be licensed to Samsung? And then, we'll see, right? So I suspect it's cheaper for Samsung to license the MLA from LG and make it work, assuming it does improve it, than for them to figure out the more expensive phosphorescent blue and then try to figure out how to make it work with the longevity and durability that we've come to expect from TVs, because really it is first generation. And so even though the blue is superior, maybe the MLA from LG could be that Band-Aid or that transition technology until we finally get that new phosphorescent blue into all the OLEDs. So we'll see though. I mean, it's up. Hey, Samsung's already buying OLED, WOLED from LG. Why not just license LG's MLA if it helps? The key is, will it help? So thank you for that super chat. Let's jump in real quick.
So once you get done with Spears and Munzel, then you'll be able to actually see some differences, like with 1917, which the shadow detail, or if you do go to the Fire Dragons where it's well above 1,000 nits, then you see how the tone mapping works.
Let's start with that then. I think everyone has an idea of what Spears and Munzel is. They're so similar in so many things anyway. So let me switch real quick, and I'll be right back. Let's jump into that. But I have to say, though, the A95L did not disappoint.
Yeah, I mean, the Spears disc is fantastic, but it's pretty much just there to show that little 1 or 2% difference at the high end with flagship displays like this. But you need the content that's not so great to show the differences in how they handle low bit rate or really dark scenes, things like that.
Yeah. All right. Just so you guys know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say at some point, I'm sure people want to see SDR, how bright you can get them all in SDR.
So in the whites, the G3 looks brighter. So you see, I think you could just barely see it on the YouTube. So the G3, anytime it's white, it really knows how to push it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would expect here. The G3 to be brighter, or appear brighter, especially because this is going to be, it's going to tone map less, but it's also going to have a little less color, especially once
But
we
yeah,
get over to the
there you
red
go.
and
So
orange flames.
you nailed it. So the flame right here on the G3, it's mostly yellow, whereas there is orange subtleties in the A95 and the S95. Don't know if you guys can see that. Oh, I'll turn exposure down a bit more, and I'll show you where the flame is so you guys can see.
Yeah, sadly, we can't use this at the shootout because it's WB.
I know, right? So we're talking about the flames right here. There are right here, there are subtleties of orange, where on the G3, it's mostly yellow, shades of yellow rather than shades of orange, whereas both the Sony and the Samsung, actually the Sony has even better clarity in that scene. The Sony nails the scene. Now, part of it could be that the Samsung's larger, right? Maybe more pixels, but we'll see at the shootout. So this is one of those scenes where it's so close, but the thing is, it's paused. If I didn't pause it, and you're just watching it as it is, it's gonna be hard to capture, but hey, that's just how it is, right?
Yeah, once the you get to the part with like the full reddish dragon, there's more of that red or orange, whatever.
Unfortunately, I capped the scene at these many seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll run the scene one more time. I think I see where it has a lot of red, like bright red flames near the end. So we'll have one more shot at pausing it at the right time. Yeah, all the orange on the LG is a little bit less orange, but again, it's to tell you guys the absolute accuracy of the TV that most of you probably may not care unless you're a purist. So how many of you are purists, right? That's the question for all of you.
Still no update for the A95L, I assume?
Nope.
Yep. Yeah, I'm
have
not expecting an
update
update for a couple weeks.
So in this scene, they all look identical. It's not obvious that one has more orange than the other, so the luminance is probably not as bright. And of course, this looks the same. This is normally my test for LCDs. So we'll get here. Let's see room brightness, or the APL, of the Sony.
So the S95C and the A95L have the same panel. So on camera, if they were physically calibrated the same white point, they should look the same. So we're seeing a pretty decent difference in camera. Are you seeing like the S95C being different than the A95L for the white?
The white point, yeah, yes. Like right here in this scene, the A95L is a touch more white. It's a bit bluer. And you can see a slight pink tint on the far left of the G3 on my TV.
And that's perfectly in line with how it is in person normally, and the opposite of what people see on this through the camera, because the camera makes the A95L look more pink and the S95C look green, but in reality it's opposite.
So in this case, forget what you see on the G3, because I'm seeing the YouTube, right? So the G3 the white point does not look as it looks on YouTube on the G3. However, the A95L does look that touch cooler and with a touch of magenta. So if you guys are calibrating it, it would remove that magenta bias on the A95L. But the skin tones look fine.
Ugh, what the hell is this? Passion fruit.
You good, Brian?
Yeah, just Take a little bathroom break. I figure my boy Classy's here. We'll jump out real quick. How we doing?
We're doing great.
Mad Max, baby. Here we go.
Yeah, see, all the TVs can do this so well now. It's almost not worth doing anymore.
Yeah. Did you get 1917 on here yet?
No, but I do have 1917 bookmark where we left off, so we can look at it real quick.
Well, Class, you gotta check out Dr. Sleep has a great scene where her eyes are white. Have you ever seen that?
I saw the movie once, like when it came out. I don't remember much about it.
I'll send you a screenshot. Her eyes are white. Amazing. I hope see how bright it is.
So the Sony nails it right here with the tone mapping really well, better than the S95C.
Yeah, S95C is coming across the camera as brighter, but definitely blown out.
Yeah. It's coming off as brighter too because there's more of it that's blown out. So it's very interesting. But they all look, so the S95C definitely has the impact because it's a little bit brighter, but then there's so much of it that's larger, like that extra largeness. Oh, let me see how it does with this very difficult scene.
Love to see an LED with this scene.
Like,
oh, Michael Cohen. You know what I'm talking about as far as Dr. Sleep. The eyes of what's her name? Rose the Hat. They're piercing white. Ooh, that menu's dark though.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Samsung menu is a bit brighter than the other two. So it recognizes a menu for sure, and it tones it down. Let me fast forward to some of these. I accidentally stopped it when it was at the...
Was it Thor?
Monster
All
Hunter.
of a sudden, your house gets shot up.
Do you still have the Illusionist nearby for that low saturation? Okay.
I do. I can pull that up too.
That'll finally answer the question if it was a Gen 1 versus Gen 2 QD OLED problem.
That is true. Why don't you explain to the audience what the problem was with the A95K in the Illusionist?
In very low lit but high saturation scenes, it would just lose color, and so like instead of being a deep red, it would just look almost green, or like a greenish gray. And the S95C doesn't have that problem. The S90C that I had did, but that was a Gen 1 S90C, and then others with Gen 2 S95Cs, they don't seem to have that problem. And so the A95L fixed that. That pretty much just solidifies it's a Gen 1 versus Gen 2 problem.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
So this ring around the G3, this is what we're talking about. It's desaturated, this large ring here, whereas on the Sony and the S95C, it's a reddish, pinkish, right? So this is what, but the thing is, I freeze the frame so you see it, but when it's playing, it looks even worse because then it starts to flash as well. So it has two issues it has to deal with that, maybe they'll address it before the shootout. But, you're not going to win or lose the shootout because of that, but it's something that not a lot of people notice. I wonder if you see it on video games.
Oh yeah, I mean it's even worse generally.
Yeah,
I mean it depends on what you're looking at.
Less processing.
So what I'm going to do is go to 1917, I think. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Do you remember what minute mark it was at, Classy?
No, but it was at the very beginning of a certain scene. So like if you go through the scene selection, you can probably find it. And as soon as the scene starts, that's the beginning of it.
Oh, there it is. Dark room short. I think I actually labeled it. Thank heavens. That's the one, right? There we go.
Yeah, you just got to change your camera exposure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, can't see anything on the G3 yet, but you can on the other two. I mean, you can
My
see
mic
like
picking
the
up everything.
wrist, but not the face.
My mic's not picking up anything. There's nothing happening where I am. What would my mic be picking up?
Okay, are you guys seeing it now? Just making
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's still really dark on the G3, but again, this is where you need a reference monitor to see which is right.
So let's talk about, a lot of people are asking, is it lifted blacks or is it crushed on the G3? I don't know,
Well,
right?
it's not lifted blacks. It's just the shadow
Or
detail, like on Sony,
lifted shadow detail,
typically.
right?
Yeah. So the shadow detail on Sony is usually too bright out of the box, and LG is usually too dark out of the box. But the G3 is calibrated, so it could be right, but it depends. This is where you need the monitor to see. I mean, they both could be equally wrong in each direction.
We're all wrong.
We're all wrong. And this is something,
Yeah.
okay, and I'm going to pause here for a second. So out of the box, the Sony looks almost identical to the S95C, but arguably a touch more lifted. It's just a little bit brighter. As you said, Classy, is out of the box, if you don't calibrate it, the Sony likes to err towards the side of more shadow detail, right? And you see that in this scene. If the S95C shadow detail is accurate, it's still slightly darker than the Sony. So Brian, knowing,
Yes.
if you're buying a TV, knowing out of the box the Sony gives you a little bit more shadow detail, and the G3 does not, because I know out of the box the G3 may have even been worse in terms of darkness in this scene. Which would you choose?
I mean, when it comes to OLEDs, I don't mind the more. I mean, more shadow detail, the better. It's when LEDs have that happen where you end up with blooming and artifacting. So I probably would want a little more shadow detail, OLED versus OLED.
Yeah. So in a situation like this, for the typical consumer, even enthusiasts that don't have black walls, like I can see your walls are black, so your room is dark, so you're fine, FOMO. But most people don't have those black walls. So even if you turn off the lights and it's nighttime, a little bit of lift at the bottom for that shadow detail is going to help, because to be accurate completely, it's for a very, very dark room that not many people have. And that's one thing, as a calibrator, you got to take into account the room.
That's interesting. The walls. Yeah, I never thought about that in that regard. That much detail, because right now I'm in an insane asylum. My walls are so white, so it would matter now. Classy versus my dark room. You're right.
Yeah, and if you watch this scene, so I use this scene on the QN95C, and this is the scene that killed that TV. Like, it did everything wrong.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Cool. Well, good to know. I shouldn't say cool.
Yeah, like right here, this part of the scene, the G3 almost disappears in this scene. And this, they're all in their most accurate mode. And it's, quote unquote, in a dark room per se, right? If you go into cinema, then the G3 will be significantly brighter. So a lot of you, or I'm sorry, cinema home, that's a suggestion for many of you. As you're watching your OLED TVs, whether it's the Sony or the G3, if you're in a bright room, you really have to put it in the right mode. Otherwise, this scene, it's just one dark room, right? I mean, if you're in a dark room, Brian, and you watch this, you'd be complaining and say, what did I go wrong? That's because it's accurate. So in a bright home, you have to be in cinema home, but not a lot of consumers know that.
But if you change the preset to something less accurate, would it show up on the G3?
Oh yeah,
because dynamic tone mapping's off.
Right, switch it over to cinema home or something, and it'll brighten it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so not everybody watches it in this dark ass mode. But in that fun mode, baby. Don't be afraid.
So this is cinema home, and cinema home is slightly brighter, but you could make it more bright. You could actually turn down, I think dynamic tone mapping could be off.
Just for ha-has, if you put it on.
Yeah, just for ha-has. So you guys can see what you would have to do for this scene, because a lot of you may not know what to do. So dynamic tone mapping is off. Let's turn on. There we go.
Okay. There it is. There you go. Right back to where you belong.
And auto dynamic contrast on low.
What's up, KG? Tech with KG in the house. What's up, baby? Long time no see, brother.
There you go. Now it's a touch more like the Sony, right?
There we go. We actually more shadow detail on the G3 now over all of them.
It can be done. You just have to get the settings.
Fun mode, baby. You gotta put that
But
fun light
now
on.
the specular highlights are a little bit brighter as well. So at this point, it doesn't matter what your reference is because you're in a bright room. You're not even in a reference room as well.
Yeah.
So that's what
And that's
dynamics
what I
on
was
mapping
saying.
enable, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier with the two ways to look at HDR. If you want it accurate, it is what it is. If you don't and you want to raise that EOTF and brighten things up, then that's when the discussion can change. But
Of
if
course.
you are looking at that accurate HDR, then they're all pretty much going to be about the same when it comes to brightness.
Now, Brian seeing this, Classy seeing this, if you were to buy it for yourself, not as a reviewer, because you want it for as a reviewer, would you get the A95L given the choices out there this year if you had to replace your TV?
Go ahead, Classy.
Well, I had the S95C with the intention of keeping it until next year, but there were some multiple little things that I knew the Sony would do that added up to where I'm just going to go with the A95L, and then that'll be what I have until there's a larger QD OLED. The motion, some of the audio specific features, like I have the new Sony AVR, my center channel's too low, and so that connection between the AVR and the TV to raise the sound of the center channel, like that's an extra feature. So it's little things like that that I'm basing my decision on. I would never or suggest anyone base their buying decision on that upper 2%.
Classy, did you have your S95C dim a lot? A couple of our guys were saying that they were having a lot of issues with dimming with the S95C.
If
Did
you go
yours
on the
dim a lot?
service menu, you can disable all the dimming on Samsung. But if you don't, then it can dim over, long dark scenes.
Okay. Well, for me, I mean, as a gamer, the A95L is still not going to do it. In terms of just even the flexibility of image, the game mode is what it is. It's very hard to change it. So for me, it's still not going to be an option. I would still be with either the G3 or the S95C. But that's primarily for gaming. If it was just a movie watching TV, I'd probably go with the A95L because I feel like their presets just look good in almost everything. I feel like with Sony TVs, you don't have to reach for the remote, where Samsung and LG, I think per movie, you have to kind of change depending on what the content is. So if it was just for movies, I'd probably go A95L without second guessing it. But as a gamer, especially a PC gamer, G3 and S95C would still be for me. And we all wish there was a larger QD OLED, Jesus, or an MLA. But that's where I would be. So I guess being classy, you're on the same page. If it was just movie watching, and classy, that 2% is legit when you're talking about the sound, no doubt, definitely.
Magic Lake has a good question. FOMO and Brian, has the Dolby Vision issues been addressed on the 2023 Sony TVs? It depends on which Sony TV. That's something we're going to talk about right now. Does LG still have the most accurate implementation of Dolby Vision? So that's also subject to argument, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Sony TVs and Dolby Vision in 2022 and 2023. It looks like the A95 series, QD OLED, whether it's A95K or A95L, has accurate Dolby Vision out of the box. The other Sonys, so Classy, you have the A80L, right? Is Dolby Vision accurate on the A80L, or do you have to actually calibrate it?
Yeah, it's the same problems as always. It's the QD OLED models from Sony that, apparently the Dolby's actually good.
Yeah.
And it's not bad on the WRGBs. It's just it needs a lot of work. And even then, it's more consistent with HDR10 because like you can be watching one show in HD or in Dolby Bright and it be darker than what Dolby Dark is, or you can watch another show and then dark is darker than bright. So there's not really a lot of consistency to it. But with
Well, it
the
seems like with Sony 2 Classy, it's like we have Dolby Dark and darker with Sony. Well, at least even Hisense and those guys have a brighter, or LG has the ability to do a standard Dolby Vision if you want to brighten it up. I feel like with Sony, if it's too dark, you're kind of like, okay, I guess I'm stuck with it. So I think that's kind of sucks, even if it's accurate.
yeah, and what Sony does is because Sony has their white point, and then Dolby requires D65 for their accurate Dolby mode.
Mhm.
So the Dolby Dark has an offset, and so if coming from the factory, if the white point isn't exactly what Sony thinks it should be, then that offset's broken. And no matter what, when you're watching content, your SDR and your HDR, your white balance will look the same. But when you go to Dolby Dark, it's going to look warmer. And so if you don't want that discrepancy, then you have to use Dolby Bright.
Well,
So we're
technically,
gonna
KG said,
do.
Brian, why don't you like the A95L for gaming? It's not that I don't like it, KG, but I'm somebody who does like the ability to change the image on game mode. And I just feel like Sony TVs, the game mode is the game mode. You really can't alter it or change it very much. Where with Samsung and LG, you can alter it quite a bit, especially Samsung. So it's just really not the input lag. It's more of what the game mode looks like. The game mode looks great on the A80L. It's just you can't change it much. It looks the way it looks. So it's more about how it looks in terms of being able to have flexibility.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna do
personally,
some Dolby Vision comparisons while you guys are talking. That's what I'm doing right now.
yeah, I was just gonna say, for me, the gaming on Sony is mostly fine. It's, you know, the dimming, especially in SDR game mode, that's, you know, my biggest complaint. But my situation has changed where the Sony's going in the living room where I just come home and watch a show at night. Um,
Yep.
any gaming is going to be in here, so I'm just going to wait until next year when Samsung has the S95D or whatever.
Oh, here
And
it is.
that's a real use case too. If you think about it, classy, when we talk about where TVs go, you're like, yeah, this one's going over here. It does make a big difference on what we choose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the 42-inch C3 right now, and like this is what I'll use in the meantime. But I do also have a lounging chair behind me and the setup. So I just figure we're what 5 months away from, you know, new next year models, you know, just about to launch. So I can wait.
I almost grabbed that Samsung ultra wide until I realized it wasn't as bright as the other QD OLEDs. I was like, oh, how's it not bright? Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
monitor.
that's why I have to go with like an actual TV for a monitor. Just for me,
Yeah.
monitors aren't the same. They just don't
Yeah,
perform the same.
I thought the QD OLED monitor that we saw at CES was going to be like a bright Samsung OLED. They're like, nope, sorry. I was like 400 nits. I'm like, what?
So I'm gonna turn off the Samsung. So
does,
usually throw off the
does
camera.
FOMO Dessert 67 said, forget the other modes. Just leave it on Vivid, baby. Game on. Rock that on Vivid. Let's burn it in.
All right. As the TVs kind of reset, and we're gonna do some Dolby Vision comparisons with the G3. Oh, it's ready to go.
Yeah, KG just said something. And that, yeah, for me, that is, to me, the biggest benefit of gaming on a Sony is the ability to use smooth gradation, and it works in game mode. Like that, I
Reality
think is
creation
really good.
actually is excellent this year. I would definitely say that's the first time I've ever seen reality creation not add a lot of dithering or artifacting. So yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah.
But you have to like the game mode. I mean, I really. Then again, I'm thinking about the A80L. The other ones I saw this year, I wasn't able to change the game mode that much as far as making it look different.
Yeah.
I think I hear a guest coming on, and oh, Robert Zone. Let me see. Robert, can you hear us? Oh, let me add him. Robert, can you hear us?
Oh, my shadowy figure in the distance.
Shadowy figure.
What's up, Robert?
Hello, everybody. Do you guys hear and see me okay?
We hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do here. 1 second. Let's see here. Let me get this 1 second.
Yeah, KG, unfortunately, this year I feel like that it was a step back as far as the game modes.
Okay, let's start adding people again.
That is kind of annoying.
There's one. One is the loneliest number. Echo. Robert, say something epic before we can see you.
What do I have to do?
Say something epic.
What
As
is
the
happening?
icon of the group.
Well, let's see.
Robert in the welterweight division.
A95Ls are in transit, but
Nice, that a boy.
I'm a little behind Best Buy. But I
Only a
put
little bit.
because you and FOMO persuaded me to. I put together an extra special promotion, so all
Perfect.
my existing customers and any new people that come to us now even have an enhanced program with us.
Excellent. Let's wait till you're on camera, Robert, before we go into too much of the details. I think FOMO's trying to get us on here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was with Robert Zone today at Value Electronics. We were shooting the XLED versus the QN95C. And Robert was hard at work at putting together a nice package for you guys if you decide to purchase the A95L from
Oh,
Value
Robert,
Electronics.
just so Robert knows, I cannot see Robert at all. Just so you know, Robert.
Mhm.
We have your audio, but we don't have you on video. Is
I
your
don't see
camera
any of
working
us.
okay?
Are any of us on video?
Seems to be the green light is on.
Hmm. Let me see.
I can leave and come back on again.
Why don't you try that?
And
Already.
make sure to allow it. It'll ask to approve the app to use the camera, so you got to allow it.
Okay, and I'll use a different browser.
Right now, FOMO, all I see is the TV.
Yeah, and that's what I see too. And I don't even know who this number one is. A number
It's
one
got
just
Robert.
popped
It's
up.
got Robert's hair though. It's got the good silhouette. It's got Robert's look. I don't see any. Oh, no, that's classy.
Craziness.
No, Tom's, why am I so
The
close?
S95C is apparently a person.
Yep. It's me struggling to get this. So when Robert appears, he'll be very, very large. In the meantime, there it is. Okay, so right now, I know when Robert comes back, he's trying to put together a competitive package for those of you who want to buy the A95L and want more than just MSRP. Robert wants to put something together that bundles the A95L with something else. And when he comes back on, we'll find out what that something else is.
Hopefully it's the HTA9, which is pretty amazing, which I have actually behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, the HTA9 is amazing.
Yeah, and having the HTA9 in this room, a much larger room, it really is incredible. Mozart's Ghost said, Brian, you said it, man. I was like, that is real shadow. That number one looks like Robert's shadow. That was awesome.
You know, so for some reason, Robert, I don't have you on at all. So I don't know.
Can you hear him? I can't hear him now.
But we can hear you, Robert. Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, why don't you continue talking, Robert? Tell us, what is your deal? And then in the meantime, I'll max the TVs so people could enjoy the A95L while you are talking.
Well, thanks to you and Classy and all the others who told me, which is how I found out, that Best Buy got the first allocation. And I was quite surprised and a little disappointed even that happened. And even many of our own customers left us and went with Best Buy, which I understand that. So anyway, through your encouragement, I put together an extra special promotion. For those that stay with us, you are grandfathered in. And for any new customers that want to come along, here's the deal. Other than we're going to have our first allocation the middle of next week, which is all sold out, and the next one the following week, we'll have them available to ship and sell nationwide the week of October 2nd. All screen sizes.
What about the 77-inch, Robert?
The 77 as well. We put a 5% store credit on everything.
So what can they do with the 5% store credit?
You can do anything you want with us. Use it however you like. But I also put together some incredible bundle promotions if you bundle it with any Sony, which I'm so glad that Cecil brought up why he has the Sony receiver. They built in so many very special features and advantages and benefits and new synergies for combining a Sony audio system or receiver with a new Sony Bravia XR TV. And one of them is that center lift camera, which we use in our showroom where we demonstrate the 5000 ES receiver. And everybody comments on the great clarity of the detail of the center channel of dialogue. It's just brilliant of Sony's engineers to team these products together, to be paired together with so many extra benefits. They did the same thing with their sound bars. Their flagship top of the line sound bar, $1,400. If you buy it with a A95L from it, you're gonna pay $549 for it. This is a $1,400 sound bar. If you buy their $500 sound bar, you're going to pay zero for it. You're going to be If you want one of the audio receivers, take an extra 10% off, and then also use our exclusive 5% off the audio receiver. And that's just a couple of the things that I did. That's beyond what Best Buy or anybody else is doing.
And for and so for sure, if people don't know, since the Sony A95 has just launched, you're not going to get any competitive deals or any deals at all, frankly, from Best Buy or any retailer for at least another month or so, right, Robert? But you're doing it from day one?
That's correct.
All right. Well, give Robert a call and see what you guys can see
Everybody
what
who-
you can negotiate with Robert.
Yes. And everybody who reserved a TV with me is grandfathered into this promotion.
So there's
yeah,
some comments. There was a lot of background noise, so some of what you were saying was missed. If you just want to recap it.
Yes, Robert, recap your deal, please. Because a lot of people are waiting to buy this TV.
So, thanks to your encouragement, FOMO, and Brian and Cecil, and telling me that we got jumped by Best Buy, we decided to do a very aggressive promotion. We ship it nationwide from 6 different fulfillment warehouses, so it doesn't travel far to get to anybody. We bundle it with a 5% store credit. So on the 77-inch, I owe you $250. It's shipped for free to your home. And if you want to bundle it with a sound bar, like their flagship high-end HP A7000 ES, which sells for $1,400, if you buy it from us with the TV, you would pay $549 for the $1,400 soundbar. That's just
Wow.
one. That's just one example of what
The
we.
HDA9 is excellent, by the way.
Yeah, and this is beyond what anybody else is doing. And if you are like Cecil and you have a independent system with separate speakers, Sony's new world-class audio fidelity brand new receivers are also specially designed to be paired with their XR Bravia TVs for what Cecil brought up earlier in this broadcast tonight is the center channel lift. Everybody loves that. It's a breakthrough and a brilliant advancement in
So my feeling is with a 5%, they can get a sound bar basically thrown in, just the right sound bar. So based on whatever deals are happening closer to Black Friday or in October, they can get a discounted sound bar as that 5% bundle, right, Robert?
Yes, and pretty much like you said, depending on which sound bar, one of them is absolutely totally free.
Yep. All right. So now, as everyone, so real quick, get everyone caught up. So this is Dolby Vision on the Sony A95L and on the G3. And what you guys will see is on this, well, you probably won't see this as well, but I will tell you what you should be seeing. Right here is the brightest part of the cloud. This is 10,000 nit Dolby Vision on Spears and Muscle. And on the G3, this is a bit brighter in terms of specular highlights. The details are there in both. Neither of them are clipping details, but the Sony is less bright in this area. So the question then becomes, at 10,000 nits Dolby Vision, Sony has decided to just bring the brightness down a little bit, but the G3 gives it that pop. Which is more accurate, Classy? Because this is both Dolby Vision, this is on Spears and Munsell, and the two TVs have chosen different tacks, right? And so this is Sony on Dolby Vision Dark. Let me make sure, wait, you know what? Let's make sure that the Samsung isn't Dolby Vision Bright. Nope, this is Cinema Dolby Vision. So this is the equivalent to Dolby Vision Dark on the Sony. And let's make sure that nothing is funky happening on the Sony. Dolby Vision Dark. Yep, maximum brightness. So what could explain this discrepancy? Is it TV's intent doing its thing, which is accurate because the reference monitor will not be able to tell you what's right? What are your thoughts on this? We'll start with Classy, since Classy has delved into this among the Sony TVs. Is the A95L more accurate in that decision, you think? Or is the G3 doing a better job? Personally, I think it's the G3.
When it comes to anything tone mapping related, you would need the reference monitor that could display it to see what it should be, or ask the creator, so you could ask Stacy. Otherwise, it's just your preference.
So what is your preference then, Classy?
I like to have all the visible detail. You will trade some brightness, but I'd rather see what's supposed to be there.
Now, the G3, everything is there. When you get it, you'll see. It's just the whites are a little bit brighter. It's just the Sony looks more like SDR. Brian, which one do you prefer?
G3.
Yeah, me too.
At least in this
Sony
shot.
had more detail. Like, I agree with Classy. If there was more detail, I would definitely go for this. But it feels like Sony brought the 10,000 nits that was supposed to be in the Dolby Vision down to like 1,000. And I bet you. So let me do it right now. Let me see what it looks like.
So you would need to look at the HDR analyzer to see what this particular scene actually is, because there may not be anything in here that's 10,000 nits. And if you look at the blue sky in the background, on the camera, it appears that the A95L looks like a more saturated blue. So that's another reason of having that detail in the sky.
And guess what? We have an analyzer. So let's see if in this analyzer, if this scene has anything that's above 2,000 nits. Let's be generous. So we're going to go through the content. And is it this one? I think it's this next one.
S95C is off because it doesn't have Dolby Vision.
Yes, this is only Dolby Vision comparisons right now.
Someone thought it died.
No, it didn't fail me.
Is Robert still with us, or did he take off?
Robert, you here?
I'm here.
Okay, great. So how excited are you about the shootout, Robert? I know you've been over your head with all the preparations.
Yes, indeed. And I am very excited. This is one of the biggest years ever. And thanks for all of your participation, Classy, Brian, yourself. You're on the inner circle of this whole thing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting us into the inner circle. We've been putting together a list of movies, and I shared that matrix with you, Robert. We're going to have that list done soon enough. Okay, so really quick, this appears to be 4,000 nits, this line above, and the cloud that's bright is just below 4,000. So I would say 3,000 is right here. So let's say it's 3,500 to 3,800 nits, right? So that's where that should be. I think the G3 got it right then. The G3 is closer to that 4,000 nit mark than the Sony, don't you think, Classy?
Yeah, especially like we were talking about earlier, anything that's a bright white or low in color, the LG can get it brighter. It's just when you get to the brighter colors that's where it falls off.
Yeah. And also for those LG fans, this is white. This scene is literally designed for the G3 to kill any TV out there, because if this was a bright yellow cloud, I doubt the LG would do this well. But because it's a bright white specular highlight of cloud,
loves them whites, loves them whites, baby.
It's about matchups, right? Those of you who are football fans, it's all about matchups. And this one, the
Yeah.
G3 nailed it because it's the perfect matchup. So that's just something, not every TV is perfect. You're not going to be watching white clouds in specular highlight HDR all day long. But if you are, definitely get the G3, right?
It's amazing though when we do film things where the whites are pink. It's amazing how much footage has whites in it. You're like, damn, this looks pink. I can't shoot this. So
Yeah,
whites are in everything.
definitely not. So what I'm going to do next is do some streaming content for you guys. Actually, let me do some sports content that's super bright because I know people want the S95C back. So I'm going to reconnect the S95C, and then we'll see what happens. And in the meantime, Brian and Classy, what's happening this week with you guys while I get this stuff set up?
Go ahead, Classy.
Oh, so I just put out my Z9K review today that I shot at Value Electronics, and then tomorrow be working on the X95L review that I shot there. Then I'll have a stream to talk about the comparison between the two and go into the measurements and whatnot. And then after that, I guess I need to talk to Robert about coming to pick up the A95L.
Very good.
Nice.
Very exciting. You bet. Cool. Hey, I do want to mention about gaming on the A95L. Remember, this is a new processor, and this processor is more powerful. And Sony has heard it many times about their gaming not being up to the same level. It is 4K 120 hertz. It's not 144. It is 4K 120. It is VRR, automatic low latency load. It is really nice paired with a PlayStation 5. It's 8.5 millisecond lag, so it's very fast response time. So I think we got to get Brian over to bring the PS5 as well.
Absolutely. As soon as we get it, I'll be there.
Okay.
Oh,
So
well, these is a minute. The minute it's there, bro. I'll be there. The second.
this is the caveat right here.
Uh-oh. There'll be a white knuckle on it. Who was white knuckling at that time we did the QM8?
So above 1,000 nits, the HDR10 is not tone map. I'm sorry, the Sony A95L is not tone mapping HDR10 at 10,000 nits well at all, compared to the Samsung and the LG. And the Sony has like some funky color thing happening at 10,000. So if you go down to 2,000, it's not any better. Now, 1,000 looks great. Above 2,000 HDR10, and we'll see what the tone mapping is.
That sounds like what you said earlier. You're not actually talking right now?
Yeah, no. Just YouTube without me knowing with content.
Classy. I heard myself. I'm like, wait a minute. I said that like an hour and a half ago.
Now, the G3 is not that much better because it's also...
Yeah, there's a YouTube playing in the background somewhere in someone's mic, maybe?
Yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to have to find out, is it me or who is it? I'm looking, and it cannot be me. My YouTube is on mute, so maybe it's Robert. Robert, don't forget to mute your YouTube. Or
it was the beginning of the stream, too.
Okay, so this is sports. This is the Alabama game, and I'm going to occasionally let it play just for a second so that we see how bright they can get. So dynamic mode on the Samsung. So let's get into dynamic mode real quick. There we go. And so you guys, those of you in a bright room, you guys know you want the G3 to show off here. There you go. And my vivid mode on the G3 is optimized, so I'm not going to have to go
seen at that time.
Right. Ooh. Wow. It appears the Sony, it did get brighter. I'm checking to see which is brighter. And the Sony appears to be a touch brighter than the G3 in this scene. Just a touch. But basically, at worst, it's a match for the G3. I'm just looking at my exposure meter real quick to compare. And let me tone it down, the exposure, so you guys can see the detail better, to see what the contrast looks like on this. The Sony, the settings are just default out of the box right now.
Yeah, a lot in the chat are asking if you could do it in just like a normal mode and max out the brightness.
Okay. And this is probably SDR, because it's YouTube TV, so who knows what YouTube's doing. Okay. Standard, they wanted standard mode on the Sony?
I'm just like,
Yes,
you could even put it in
something-
professional and just
something-
max it out and then put it in
I
movie
see,
or
I
cinema
see.
or whatever.
Okay, so cinema is on brightness is max. Professional is darker. Cinema. But let's see why professional is darker, right? Because it shouldn't be, but it is. So let me look at the settings again. Why would professional be so dark than cinema compared to cinema? So on brightness, max, gamma is -2. I don't know why. 0. Peak luminance is off. I guess in SDR, this is what happens.
Yeah, you got to put that on high.
Okay. And we're going to leave advanced contrast enhancer off. I would actually turn it up, though, if it's sports. Let me turn it up a little bit. Everything else, okay. And cinema is probably the same reason why it's dim, because it's in SDR mode. So this is probably SDR. So in SDR, what they do is they default it at those settings that looked a little bit less bright. So in professional mode, this is as bright as it gets. Now, you can make it brighter if you go and let me try the enhanced. Oh, there you go. Look at that. I can see what it is. It is SDR. Okay, so it's SDR.
So,
Yeah,
white
so if you can go to the LG and just throw that into either one of the ISF modes or cinema or something like that,
Yeah.
and max out, and then movie mode on the S95C, max it
Okay,
out.
so advanced contrast enhancer is on max, peak luminance is on high. So all of their, oh, you know what? Let's give it a little bit of, everyone loves live color, right? Why not?
Does make a difference. Even SDR looks interesting.
Okay, all right. LG. Okay. So what mode you guys wanted in?
I'd say just put it in ISF bright and then just max out the brightness.
ISF bright, okay. This one, ISF bright.
Now, in that mode, the contrast 100 is going to be clipping. Should be 85.
Okay.
And then it's, if you're doing contrast enhancer, that's up to you. But normally I would have that off. But
Well, I would do it because I did it on the Sony.
yeah.
There we go. Put 86 is fine. Okay. Aerodynamic contrast. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, for sports, I like it better because I can read the score better and I could see the details of, well, this is why, right? So for those who love sports, if you notice, you can see the numbers better when you do this is why I do contrast enhance, so you can see the numbers on the players a little bit better. You don't really care about the skin tones, but you want to see the number 5, right? So even though the Sony has its contrast enhancer on max, in professional mode, it's not max enough. And I'll do the same with the Samsung now. We'll put it in standard. There you go. Okay. I choose the Samsung without even changing any settings, but that's just me. What do you guys do? Which one do you guys prefer?
I like the Samsung.
Yeah, me too. And the G3 is a close second. If you want, so the G3 I would put in vivid mode in this case, right? And the Sony in professional mode. You can see that it's not designed to be bright, so I'm not gonna ping the Sony. Some of you wanted the Sony to look like that, so that's what it is. What are your thoughts on, so the people who asked for this, is this how you want to watch your Sony? SD says the standard sucks. Hey, let's try it on dynamic. I like watching sports in dynamic personally, right? Oh, Eco's horrible.
What?
Filmmaker.
Dynamic.
There we go. Dynamic. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
That's retail mode.
Retail mode, baby.
Right, that retail mode, baby.
Well,
What's up, Michael? Michael Wyckoff. What's up, baby?
all right. Let's see what your questions are here. Let me see.
Excuse me 1 second, guys.
There we go. So yeah, you know, the Samsung, it's not really red. It looks like crimson is a bit fuchsia, right? It's okay. I don't mind. So KG wants sports vivid on the Sony. So let's see. And I would do the same. Yeah, the Sony is even more fuchsia. Well, actually, the Sony has a good deep red that's not quite fuchsia. And of course, we don't want the LG to be left behind. Let's give the LG its love. Those of you in a bright room, this is your max brightness setting. And the Sony would be, I mean, we're talking just by a hair, slightly brighter than the G3, but the S95C is very close. And it's not worth choosing one TV or the other just based on this scene alone. But I'm impressed. I mean, this is very bright, by the way. So if you're in a bright room, this is fine. All right, let's check out some questions. Robert, do you ever watch in vivid mode? That's my question to you. I think Robert's gone. Or he went to take a break. All right, let's get to your questions real quick. Ran asks, stop the FOMO. Can we please see how it looks like with this on? It's on. Ran, more details. What looks like with what on? What do you want to see? Oh, the A95L looks great. I mean, they finally have a sports mode. So the A95K does not have a mode that's this bright. This is what I think Sony was talking about when it said that they doubled the brightness. Its vivid mode is now matching the G3, arguably a touch brighter than the G3. So that's good enough for me. And you're staying with the X93L, not a wrong choice, and you get an 85 inches too, so definitely a good one. Are we going to use the HX3 3110 as a reference? I believe the 3110 is the new monitor that goes up to 4,000 nits, if that's what you're referring to. It is not available until November 2023. So the answer is no, but more importantly, since it's not available until then, no creator has used the 3110. And so unless a creator is using it for a movie that we're using, it's not a reference, right? It has to be a reference if the creator of the content we're using is actually using it. What they are using, though, is the 1,000 nit reference monitors in Hollywood right now. And as I've answered someone else, I think on Twitter maybe, it'll be at least 3 years before we see content from the 3110 that's graded to 4,000 nits, make it to a disc. Streaming might be 2 years, but it takes a few years out from filming to grading before you actually see what is on the reference to what is in the TV or disc, and then I could then use it as a movie for us to watch. So, good question. Jeff Bloom asks, wow, FOMO, so are you saying that Dolby Vision looks brighter on the G3 than A95L? Yes, I am, Jeff. It is, well, okay. The APL looks very similar, but the bright specular highlights, yes. On the G3, in that scene on Spears and Munsell, it is brighter. Will this be in every scene? The answer is no. It's just Spears and Munsell really pushes the brightness of Dolby Vision. I don't know if you're going to see that in other blocks. You know what? Since we are here in Chromecast, here's a good chance for me to get onto Netflix, and we'll see how The Witcher, that scene does, and we'll talk about it.
Hey, FOMO, I'm going to head out, but I'll still
okay.
be
thanks
in the
for coming
chat.
by, Classy.
Yep.
Thanks for jumping in, brother.
See ya.
And let me add, you know what, Brian? I can even, there you are. I see you now.
What's
Okay,
up?
you are flying solo. I don't know where the heck there it is. Here's a T. Let's get it back in there. All right.
As I say, I can't see anybody. What's going on?
So while I get Netflix going, can you answer some questions for us, Bye?
Sure. Let me see. Yeah, it's easier to check the things on our phones than it is on this chat. Somebody's talking about choking on hairballs. Lisa, I use a Dolby Vision Bright. I don't care if Dolby Vision Dark is more accurate. I hear that, Lisa. You guys find Dolby Vision Dark on Sony's. What's your experience with Dolby Vision? As far as background noise, guys, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay,
We're doing the best we can.
I'm sorry. Netflix is cracking down. Even though this is my studio, they're not going to give me access to Netflix until I upgrade my membership so I can add myself back in. This is just,
oh, it's
and it's
saying
the
you have
same
too many
guy, right?
profiles?
Right.
You're like,
I'm the
Brad,
same
it's
guy,
me.
right? I am the edge case. It's the same dude. I watch Netflix at home. I come here, do my studio thing. It's one person, but apparently it's two different addresses. So we're going to have to do this later. But you know
Oh,
what?
really? You know what? Wow. Oh, I wonder if that's going to happen with my Fire Stick when I'm at Value Electronics.
It probably
It
will.
thinks because you're at a different address now, even if you're using the same profile. Wow, they're cracking down like that?
Yes, yes, right? So, you know, what are you going to do? What can you do? So, all right, let's get to your questions. I'll look for other content, but I'm sorry. Netflix is not going to happen. And hey, how long have we been on, Brian? It's almost 8 o'clock your time.
Yeah, we got on about 5:40, so we're 2 hours in.
Okay. Oh,
Almost 2.5
should I
hours.
plug in the PS5?
Yeah, just see what it does.
Let's see what it does. All right. So if you can answer questions, my friend, let me get this PS5
Sure.
thing running.
All right. All right, guys, what are your thoughts on the A95L so far? Well, I'd say reality creation on the A95L is probably going to be amazing. It's actually a feature I would use this year, as it does really clean up the image quite a bit. Even on the A80L, X95L, where maybe a couple of years ago, reality creation, if you maxed it, it would cause a lot of noise in the image. It doesn't do that. It doesn't cause more aliasing. It does clean it up quite a bit. So if it adds lag, I am not sure. I'll hear that PS5 starting up. You probably have to go through that whole setup FOMO with the clicks up and down as it does that for the first time. Is Robert still with us, or did he get off?
What's that?
Is Robert still with us?
You know, Robert is still with us, but he's muted himself.
Robert, you
All
there?
right. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Hey,
What's up,
Robert.
my man?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Let's see. Pricey for the 77. Try Evil West. Shamar, what's up, Shamar?
Hey.
Shamar, when you meeting me over at the store at Value Electronics? I know you're in the area, brother. Let me know when you get down there. We'd love to see you down there.
Oh, interesting.
What's
Well,
the
you know
matter?
what? I'll do it with the Sony. I'll use the Sony as the standard. But you know what? Let me put it in game mode too. Put them all in game mode real quick. Because you
Yeah, it's
guys all want
interesting
to see what game
if
mode
you
looks
check
like.
the clicks through a splitter. Sometimes, like, whoa, there's a difference.
Yeah. So you guys remember, it's not a splitter, so it's not going to be perfect, right? I'm not going to try to get it done properly. To see, where's my game mode?
Let's see.
Okay. What? I have not explored game mode, so do I have to turn something on for game mode now?
You just go into the enhance HDMI. Just go into the Google menu, hit that gear, that first shortcut menu, go to inputs, and probably have to enable it there.
All right, let's see.
I need to plan another cruise out of Manhattan. Oh, you're in Manhattan tomorrow? Yeah. Let me know. I'll meet you down at the store. SD too. I know SD's in the area.
Oh, you know what? Let me plug it into HDMI 4. That's
Yeah.
right.
You know, Robert, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
So you know what's interesting, Robert? As I plugged in my HTA9 system to the hisense, when it was in enhanced HDMI for that 144, it would cut out. But it wasn't until it was back in normal enhanced HDMI that it worked. So if you ever get anybody tell you that 144 hertz messes with the HDMI for the HTA9, I think it's something of an issue.
Okay.
But it worked perfect once I changed the HDMI to normal.
Okay, very good.
Sounds
That's
awesome too.
It does.
Yeah, if you guys want to pick up the HTA9 system,
There we go.
maybe with the A95L, I mean, the HTA9 is legit.
Yeah.
I love the effect, especially in a room like that I'm in now.
Yeah. Right now
And
it's
that's
on
the-
sale with $500 off for $14.99, free nationwide
Oh,
delivery.
that's a big. I mean, that's sub pounds too, without any distortion.
And then also you use your 5% store credit, and then we give you another $200 credit just for the heck of it, because I'm upset with Best Buy.
Yeah, I mean, and for those of you that don't know, I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
Robert's a diamond, and you know, we see that a lot of the TVs there a week or two early, and to have it at Best Buy, it's a shame, especially since we pushed back the shootout to
Yeah,
accommodate the A95L. The shootout was supposed to be what, next week, Robert?
that's
Or
right. And
actually
we pushed it back. We
this
pushed
week.
it back,
Pushed it back for the A95L. So
as I would for any premium product.
of
for any-
course.
And there are some other ones that we also had to wait for. So
Well, we may see Robert too. It may need an update as well. So maybe it's a good thing.
that's
You know,
right.
maybe we have an extra couple weeks.
So next Friday, a week from now, is when I'm going to get my very first shipment. So please try to make your schedule available
Absolutely.
for next Friday. And then I have another shipment the following week, and then another one the week after that.
Excellent. So we're going to get to the 65 next Friday?
Yes.
Yep.
And 77 the week after, along with more
And
65s and 55s.
And Robert, we have a question. Do you have a separate sub with the A9 HCA9, or does it come with the sub?
It
It's
does
a
not.
separate sub.
It's a
Separate
separate
sub,
sub, but the flagship one, which I so love, SA-SW5, you get an extra $200 discount on that just because we can.
And that's the one I have, and that's amazing.
Yes,
And that's that sub is also compatible with the other soundbars as well, right, Robert? The other top
Yes,
of the line. What's the other one?
so it's $6.99, but our customers pay $4.99. And
Nice.
that's delivered nationwide for free.
And for those just jumping on, Robert, explain the center channel aspect a little bit better than just using it as a center channel. You said there was a center lift.
Yes,
Feature?
so it's a feature exclusive, proprietary to Sony, and they engineered it to work with their audio receivers as well as with their new soundbars as well. And what it is it's stable at 4 ohms, which is a very good
Damn.
specification to have. But also it's controlled very, very beautifully, where they know the exact dynamic tonal range of what the internal speakers can do, because it has subwoofers built inside. It's got tweeters. It's got mid-range. There's a lot. The new audio system, especially on the A95L, is crazy good, built into the TV. So anyway, they know it really well, and they know how to use it. They call it, it's trademarked, center channel lift. Dialogue is so clear, it comes right out of the presenters' mouths when they sing, when they speak. It comes right out at you. And it's so
Nice.
clear, you will never, ever say again, "What did he say? I didn't hear that." That goes
Yeah.
away. So clear. So it's a really nice feature with all of their new audio receivers, any of the XR TVs, and all of their new sound bars as well. And they work so well with these TVs. It's crazy.
Now, Robert, KG's got a question. He says, "Do you think, or at least the chat is asking, do you think we're going to see a discount for Black Friday, or do you think it's a little too close to release for the A95L?"
You know, they share with us what they call the promotional roadmap, where we can see 2 months ahead. So I can tell you there's nothing happening in the next 2 months. And
Okay,
even
so that
that's
puts us right.
flexible, even that is subject to change.
Yeah.
So, and I have seen that change. So they don't tell us that far ahead. And, you know, it depends upon their supply and the demand and
Yeah.
competitors are doing. And so it's these decisions are kind of made the last minute as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Oh,
anybody
oh,
has
oh,
seen
oh,
it either.
I'm sorry. I guess Robert KG was asking about the A95K. My apologies.
You know,
You see any you see any
making
drop?
those they stopped making them in December of last year. So there's almost nothing left.
And Robert, we did talk about that today, where we're seeing that even with the QN95C from Samsung, that the inventory, what they're making, is not quite as much. So I
Right.
guess that's a good thing for you guys to know that waiting till next year doesn't really work if they don't make as many, right? Would you say, Robert, they had the QN95C, they had like three left or something like
Yeah,
that, as far as the 85
that's
for
right.
Samsung? So
That's right.
that's interesting.
I guess you were looking over my shoulder when I was in the dealer portal.
Yeah, so you're saying that even like the A95K, they just
Yeah.
will run out of them.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it makes sense though. Like, good.
the manufacturers do run out several times throughout the year,
Yeah.
and supply is constrained. Seems like they're more tightly controlling inventory. So that means that, you know, they have less reason to do more discounting.
So you noticed that probably what, Robert, this year and maybe with the year before you started seeing that trend a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. With less, you know, excess inventory available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because that's one of our biggest things, right, guys, in the chat, is we tend to wait till the next year to buy last year. I know LG a couple years ago it would be where their OLEDs would sell out and they didn't have any more. So
That's
that's
it.
interesting as far as our recommendations about waiting.
Yeah. And as I said, they stopped manufacturing them in December of
Wow, last
2022.
year. Okay, wow.
So, so that's 9 months ago.
They let you know that, Robert, or is that something you have to ask about, or they let you know, hey, Robert, we're letting you know these are no longer being made on
Uh,
certain TVs or certain manufacturers.
no, we get a little heads up on that as well. Like some
Okay,
products are carryovers, like the A90J carried over 2 years in a row. And they just
yeah, that's
carry
a
over.
good
They
point.
still make them as current products. They build them.
They make them now still.
Well, actually, a big surprise 83-inch only A90J, one last production.
What?
They had told us no more. And then a surprise last production. I committed for a lot of it. I still love
I might have to grab one of those. All right.
right. I still love that TV. You know, we own it ourselves, and this is the first time I'm not itching to upgrade.
Robert, that's how the A9G was too. Remember that it came out and people
Yeah,
were like, "Nah, I'm gonna hold
this is
on to it."
even better. This is even
Yeah,
better.
this is actually the
We got a,
A90J is
we got a
successful. All right,
surprise.
go ahead, Fomo.
Oh, yeah, just showing off the game mode, and I was just playing with brightness preferred to see if it changes anything. And again, this is all preference, right? I mean, advanced contrast on high. So a lot of you will play with this. There, as far as HGIG accurate mode, it's too early for me to tell exactly what that would be if you could even get it at all on the Sony. But just so
Well,
you guys
Fomo,
know this,
does the advanced contrast enhancer actually grayed out, or is it there?
no, it's there. See?
Does it
Yes.
change the
So,
image? Because I know on the A80L it's there, but it doesn't really change the image. Can you see it change
well, this is in professional mode, just so you know, and I have it on
for
brightness
game
preferred.
in gaming?
I don't
What
even
the heck?
have a dedicated game mode. I couldn't get it to activate, so I don't know what to do.
Hey
That's
I'm just
something
FOMO,
weird.
playing in movie mode.
hey FOMO, on this professional mode, that's something new for this year. Now we have professional 1 and 2 for a few years if you calibrate the TV, but you didn't calibrate it. So out of the box, it's professional mode. What is that?
That is custom. That was custom mode last year, so they call it professional mode this year.
Is
Yeah,
it
professional.
professional 1 and 2, or is it just
Nope,
one
nope.
professional
It's
mode?
just professional mode and cinema mode. That's it.
And do you
That's
also
funny,
have a
Robert. They used to call them calibration mode was professional mode, right?
yeah, that's correct.
Custom. Yeah.
Does,
See, so
does it,
if
does
you
it still
see
have
this year, there's only standard, vivid standard, cinema, professional, calm, photo, IMAX. That's it.
right. So no more custom.
No more. Professional replaced custom.
Right. I say thank you. It isn't changing the name.
And Classius says professional 1 and 2 can still be unlocked. So I
Sure.
haven't unlocked it to 1 or 2. I just have 1.
Right. Right.
And Classius saying LLM doesn't work in a splitter. You have to select game mode on each. Well, see, that's the thing. I'm wondering, where is the selection to game mode? Like,
It should be just in there.
I
You
know.
hit the enhanced HDMI?
Yes. I'm on enhanced HDMI 4K 120 VRR. I'm on input number 4.
Interesting.
So, yeah, you know what? We're not going to beat it up. It looks phenomenal in professional mode. And of course, the other TVs are also in a similar mode, so the colors kind of match somewhat. But generally speaking, you guys will be just thrilled with the image quality of any of these OLED TVs. I think the complaints are when they're pushing 4K 120, when they're maxing out all the available features, then the S95C might get dropouts or whatnot, right? So, and just locked 4K 60, the image quality on an OLED, whether it's this or A95K or the other one, oh, you know what? Here's a good time
Does
for
the
me to
game
move.
does the game bar come up or no? We have a super chat too, a couple super chats too.
Oh, let's check the super chat. Thank you. I have to access the game bar somewhere, so. All right, hey, thank you. Chris Rock. Oh my goodness. Chris Rock number 10 is here. Great review related to gaming only, PS5 and Xbox X. I got Best Buy 65-inch G3 for $2,600, including the stand. I didn't pick it up yet. I was waiting for this review. If you can choose only one for gaming, which would you pick? Oh, Chris, you're killing me.
Yeah, we're
If
just
I
getting into it.
only gamed, I haven't had enough experience with the A95L only as a gaming TV, so that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
If you were to do anything else 50% of the time, in addition to gaming, that would be streaming, whatever, A95L has really good upscaling of low bit rate or processing of cable boxes and bad internet, all the stuff that people complain about when it comes to the source. The A95L does that really well. It does motion really well. So when it comes to that, if you do any of that, the Sony, hands down, and maybe even the A95K would be in consideration. But because you're also gaming, the G3 is as good as it was when it was the G2 and the G1. LG really does game well, generally speaking. So the PS5 at least has that mode where PS5 and Sony TVs are supposed to have a better HDR, color saturation, accuracy, whatever PS5 is doing that's matching with Sony TVs. So you have that advantage. But as far as the Xbox Series X, though, I'd say the G3 feature for feature, it may be the better performer if you're a competitive gamer. I'm going to ask you, Brian, how do you address Chris's question? Because this is a tough one for me.
Well, KG brought up a good point though, as far as with the A95L having the ability to use smooth gradation and also the ability to use reality creation. I mean, LG has super resolution, but it's a good point for the image quality. If you're more into image quality, then the A95L may be the better choice as far as what the better looking game mode is. My problem has been not being able to change the game mode that much, but my C1 is still good, C2 is still good, G2, but I haven't gamed enough on the G3 recently. But I still prefer LG for gaming. But he made a good point as far as the A95L having, again, reality creation has improved this year. With this new processor, it's probably even better. So, you may, I don't know, maybe better looking. I still prefer LG for gaming and Samsung myself. But, I mean, KG did bring up a good point as far as smooth gradation and reality creation.
Yeah, that's the stuff that Sony, but then the what do they call? The ownership experience on the G3 with the game bars, if you're used to a good game bar, the Sony doesn't have a good game bar. How do I access the game bar in this? If
Well,
you're,
KG has said too that he says here the G3 has desaturated colors and reduced brightness in game mode. I didn't experience that, but then again, KG, I haven't gamed on it since it was. I haven't revisited the G3 since we launched it at Roberts, and we had it Robert 2 weeks early.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I haven't been able to revisit it. So these guys know the G3 a little bit better than I do as far as using it. So I don't know anything about the brightness being less on gaming, but I'll take his word for it.
yeah. Well, Chris, I say wait. There's no rush. If you bought a G3 for 2,600, the price is not going to go up between now and the end of the year. So it's not like you have an amazing deal that you're not going to get back again. I think G3 will be even more competitively priced once Black Friday hits, and Best Buy hits their best prices for the LG the G3s around Black Friday and maybe into December. So you're okay. And you still have a 30-day, 60-day return depending on your membership. So if you pick up the G3, play with it, you still are within that return period. If you want to upgrade to the A95L, if it turns out it has the look or feature you want. Because gaming is so personal. That's another thing. 5 people, same TV, and you're going to have people complaining they'll never get an LG again or a Samsung
Well,
again or whatever.
in gaming too, a lot of people focus on performance over the picture quality of the game mode. Everything's about how the performance is versus how does the game mode look. You have to like the way the game mode looks. And typically Sony has a
Yes.
very good looking game mode. It's just, it kind of is what it is though.
And Lisa's asking, is professional mode like custom, just a different name? They're very similar, Lisa. I know there might be minor differences in terms of its default, but once you calibrate them both, you're going to be hard-pressed to see the difference. Possibly the ability to go a little bit brighter in one might be more than the other, but we're talking splitting hairs. I treat cinema and custom in the past as nearly identical, although technically custom could always go a little bit brighter, and professional is probably the same. But we'll know at the shootout, we'll get more details because we're going to beat it to death with all the calibrators there comparing the differences.
And that's the best part I'll say about the shootout is that, when you get them all on the same level playing field, that's when it gets interesting. When you're like, okay, now they're all the same. This one's disabled. You get them to all look, especially the reference monitor. That makes the big difference as far as checking everything out.
Yeah. And let's see, going through some questions. But you guys are awesome. You guys hung out with us for so long. It's unbelievable.
Heck yeah.
475 people watching. Click like, everybody. You're all amazing because I like you too.
Absolutely.
Me too.
And so here's something
Robert,
that
my baby.
KG wants to share. The LG G3 has desaturated colors and reduced brightness in game mode. Yes, I think Classy and you figured out a workaround, but in game mode, it doesn't compare to the S95 or the S90C. It just doesn't feel as bright. It doesn't pop as much. So you really have to study the owner's forums to get there. And the Sony A95L right now looks amazing to me, but for those who are enthusiasts, don't rush out to buy it for gaming unless you hear it from the gamers, because it's also could be game specific, some of these performance issues in terms of image quality.
Lent Milt has a question for Robert. Robert, do you think there will be an A95M in 2024?
Again, I'm sorry to say, and honestly, I really don't know. But my gut would tell me that I'd be surprised if there was. But that's no different guess than what you might have yourself.
Remember that year we had, what did we have, Robert? The A8, what was the OLED? A8H, 88. Remember we had those two that were like within 6 months apart?
Yeah.
That was after I think they were only 65. A8H and A8F, I think, were pretty close together. But this is a master series, so maybe they'll carry it over.
Yeah.
Now, Robert, I was busy plugging stuff in and out. For those who just joined us and they want to get the A95L, but they also want to get more than just MSRP and a TV, you're offering a bundle, right, Robert? I just want to make sure, what is the deal again? It's the A95L plus 5% store credit that they can use with any soundbar. What do you have available for them to use?
Thank you. Well, Sony developed a brand new line of brilliantly designed and engineered sound bars that start at free. You would pay nothing for it. It's a 3.1.3. You would get it for free because of our promotion that's exclusive to our company. Going all the way up to the $2,000 sound bar that's on promotion for $1,500, and then we give you another $200 off of that, and then we give you another $250 off that because of all these extra promotional bonuses that we have. So we have bundle promotions that are very, very aggressive that trigger a lot of extra discounts. And it's on all of Sony's audio receivers. So if you have your own audio system with your own speakers, you would want to consider upgrading to one of these HDMI 2.1 capable receivers. And there's a big selection of those as well. And I price them with deep discounts, extra deep discounts. And I did this thanks to you primarily, FOMO, because you gave me the fear of missing out on my orders.
My boy just spun it. Nice. He was like,
You really
that's good timing right there, Robert. You're like, wait a minute.
You gave me FOMO.
That's
His
terrible.
job.
Cecil,
As long as he doesn't give you
Cecil did
buyer's
the same
remorse.
thing. And Cecil did the same thing. And so did other people on some of the forums and some of
I
my
didn't do it.
customers that called me.
Well, Robert, I remember when
gave me-
Cecil, when Classy called me and said, "Hey, are you getting that A95L? It's just down the street at the warehouse in California." I'm like, "What?" And then immediately I thought of Robert. Wait, does Robert have it? And I called Brian. Brian's like, "I'm on the way there. I don't think Robert has it." And then Brian calls me back, "No, he doesn't have it. He's in shock. He's in shock."
I didn't even call him. I just drove down there. I was like, all right, let's just see what happens.
So
Yeah, I
we're
was
not
there all
far
day today.
behind. You know, my first allocation is going to be the end of next week, but it's sold out, of course, and it's a very small one. And then a week later, we're going to have a much, much larger allocation with all screen sizes. And then a week after that, I get more. So that's the week of October 2nd.
Robert, Mozart's Ghost. How accurate is this? He says, Robert's on the phone with Sony. This can't happen. Did you not call Sony and say exactly that, Robert?
Well,
Robert was
I
definitely
used
in
words
touch.
that sounded much like that, yes.
With
I'm sure
maybe
it was
a
very
couple,
polite,
a
right,
couple of
Robert?
more emphatic words, right? Mozart's being way too polite.
I'm
Robert,
always
are we gonna open one Friday?
Polite. I am always friendly, polite, and professional.
Absolutely, Robert.
I can be firm and very direct, and
you don't want to play around with Robert. Don't let it go get it twisted.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Robert, are we gonna open one Friday?
Yes, sir.
All
and
right,
then
well,
yeah, and then also, as I mentioned, the Sony receivers that I put in there with, as Cecil so wisely said, he's buying one because he wants that center channel lift. The receiver is stable to 4 ohms. It wants to be connected with all the TV speakers as a second center channel to something they designed that's so cool, center channel lift. If you haven't heard it yet, everybody that comes into our showroom, we demonstrate it. Everybody comments on how clear and detailed the center channel dialogue is. It's a noticeable improvement.
we may have to film that too, Robert. We should hook it up in the store.
Yes, it's pretty cool. Sony's brilliant engineers of integrating their audio equipment with their TVs. This is a revolutionary breakthrough. I'm sorry.
And this is a quick question for Brian, because I'm in game mode. So this is a good question for you, Brian. Brian, what specifically about the limited gaming picture options and A95L don't you like? Now, Brian didn't have a chance to dive into it. He will. So we're just looking at it right now, roughly. But
Jared, it's not that I don't like the game mode. It's just in years past, and even this year with the X95L and even the A80L, it's very good. It's a beautiful game mode. It is what it is. There's not a lot you can change with it. Live color doesn't make a big difference, at least on the A80L or the X95 or the X93 for that matter. The features are there for you to use. They just don't alter the image much. Brightness preferred, gradation preferred, don't really change the image much. So I guess my complaint would be, I'd like to see a big difference between dynamic tone mapping off, or gradation preferred, or brightness preferred, or live color, which I love. I want to see that be stronger. I have a feeling with the A95L, you may see that with the extra processing. But it's not about not liking the game mode. The game mode looks gorgeous. You just have to make sure you like it because it's not something you can really alter all that much.
Yep.
So if you like the game mode, it's a must buy. I like the game mode myself, even the A90J from years ago. It just I couldn't change. I guess my point is in all the other presets with gaming, or I should say all the other presets, live color makes a huge difference. Gradation preferred, brightness preferred makes a huge difference. And in game mode, it tends not to. And I understand that to keep latency down. I just like to see that, do more.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
Pete, they do ship to Michigan. Right, Robert? You ship to Michigan. You ship all over
We
the
do.
U.S.
We cover every zip code, and we ship from 6 different warehouses, so it ships closely. And Brian, I'm hoping to surprise you pleasantly with gaming on the A95. The new processor upgrade, and
We'll be there.
engineers hearing about all the gaming advantages that they need. They're 8.5 millisecond input lag now on the A95L. 8.5
Lord.
milliseconds. Yep. VRR is going to work beautifully, as will automatic low latency low mode. And when you plug a PS5 into it, look out for fun. But it's going to do 4K 120 easily. It's greatly enhanced, and I'm anxious for you to please come back soon. Friday we're getting it. Come back
Yeah,
and
I'll
let's
be there Friday.
game on it. But
I'll
bring a
come every day.
PS5. Bring the PS5 because that's heaven.
Absolutely, we definitely will. We'll definitely
Yeah.
do it, and we'll
So
do it.
that-
And we'll do a separate game. We'll do a video specifically on it for you guys with the A95L. We'll do a separate gaming video for
Yeah.
it. So we'll get down there Friday. Robert, let me know what time to be there, and I will be there.
You bet. All right. You bet. And
thank you, Robert.
Let's do 4K 120 PC gaming as well.
Okay.
Brian, what was that channel, Jennifer's video called? Let's watch some A95L graded video. That's made by the A95L for the A95L.
I sent you the link. That video is not public yet, but she said you could share it. If you can copy that link and put it up.
Ah, you know what? I'll have to do it on something. Let me see. You sent it on Twitter?
I sent it on your phone, I believe. I might have sent it on Twitter, but I think I sent it to you on your phone.
You know, we'll have to watch LG OLED Dreams then, because it's not connected to my TV. All right, let's see what mode we're in. Let's make sure we're on the same page here, guys. All right, professional, max, excellent. Let's see this here. Filmmaker mode. And LG. Let's put this back into cinema. Unless you guys like Vivid.
I'll grab a phone charger. Hold on a second.
Well, YouTube looks great. The Sony is a touch bright for sure. Actually, let me turn down the exposure just a touch. There you go. The Sony does look a little bit more saturated than the Samsung, but remember the Samsung is calibrated, the Sony is not. So out of the box, you guys like the Sony. People like more color. Oh wow, I'm just gonna stop right here. I'll go back. That red on the Sony is definitely more red than the Samsung. Oh yeah, Sony's got more saturation than the other two TVs. You guys can see that. I'm gonna take the exposure down a touch, hoping you guys can see that. All right, hopefully this satisfies you, Next Gen Tech. These are different scenes. This is the LG's latest high-end scenes for TV comparisons. And in the scene and consistently, when you have these rich colors out of the box, the Sony is looking like it's saying, you know what, I want it to be a touch more saturated. Will it change after calibration? We'll see at the shootout, because remember the Sony, as you see it here, is uncalibrated. All I have is its default settings in professional mode, in gradation preferred, brightness and maximum. That's it. The other two TVs are in its most accurate mode after calibration. The Sony is definitely more saturated, especially in the reds. And I see it right here. I think you guys can maybe see it too. Brian, do you prefer an extra saturation like we're getting here with the Sony?
I'm sorry, I stepped away for 1 second. Repeat
Oh,
that
I
for
was
me.
just saying, out of the box, the Sony is clearly more saturated than calibrated TVs.
And
Would
what's
you
preset?
calibrate
That's in
it
standard.
to
Is
get it
that
to
standard or is
accurate,
it?
or would you keep it as is?
For me, I mean, I like it a little saturated. I mean, I respect the calibrated image, but I like it a little more saturated. You know, I like a little pop.
Yeah, me too. The Sony definitely pops out of the box. So a lot of
Yeah.
you guys, when you guys get your TVs calibrated, remember to ask the calibrator to leave one of the accurate modes. So in this case, Sony has a professional mode and it has a cinema mode. Have the cinema mode uncalibrated so you can have options, right? Don't have them calibrate everything to accuracy because sometimes the source might look better uncalibrated the way, okay, so here's some context for all of you. Sony feels that its default mode was tuned specifically on the A95L to look better than calibrated D65. Sony feels that D65 has its uses, right? But they think that how content is produced and then distributed, you would like their default professional or cinema setting better. So that's something for you guys to consider. Thank you for that super chat. Chris, rock. And let me get the question to fit here. He asks, thank you, FOMO and Brian. I'll just wait for Black Friday to get the best deal. Yay. I'm still happy with my C1 and just want eventually upgrade my gaming TV and be looking forward to your full review. Okay, so just so you know, Chris, the C1 compared to a QD OLED, whether it's the Samsung S90C, S95C, or the Sony QD OLED A95L, that will be way brighter during gaming than the C1, especially SDR. We're talking about games that you're not doing the HDR accuracy thing, you just want maximum impact in a bright room. It'll just overwhelm you with how much brighter it is. It's mini LED level brightness. When I compared the SDR and HDR gaming of the S95C, it matched the QM900B or 900C at the beginning of the year. Now, maybe now, after a couple of firmware updates, the 900C is brighter, but at the beginning, weren't we all in shock? Oh my gosh, the S95C is like indistinguishable
Yeah.
from the brightness
Green
of
LED.
900C. So when you do upgrade to a QD OLED for sure, because SDR gaming on either ones will be, well, especially the S95C, will be definitely bright and punchy. All right, let's get some questions. And in the meantime, I'll press play because a lot of you want to get out of the scenes. We don't want to stick around the scene too long. But I will pause when I see something like this one looks very similar, right? Ooh, that red lobster.
On the sunset at the end is always nice to see what the pale
Okay,
color is or which one's
this
more
red
saturated.
lobster, the lobster is extra red, Brian.
On which one? The A95?
On the A95L. Let me
She's been
adjust
boiled a
exposure.
little one. Nice.
There we go. So on the S95C, the lobster looks a little washed out. And
Interesting.
actually, the S95C and the G3 look the same because they're calibrated. So I'm beginning to think the A95L is like, ha, you guys don't know what real image quality is. Do I have live color on? Wait, no, could be my bad. Let me make sure I don't have live color on. I just might have had it on.
I love live color.
I do
that was
too.
Great.
Let's see. Look, live color's on high. See?
What preset are we in?
We're in professional. All right. It's boring again. I'm sorry.
You're like, we're back to normal. That's awesome.
Okay, so now the G3 actually looks a little bit more saturated than the Sony. All right, I'm sorry.
If you get to the end of the end of this demo where the sunset is, that's a pretty interesting shot. It's like a very yellow. See how vibrant it is.
Okay. Okay. Everything about Sony, I take it back. Ooh. Why is the Sony slightly lifted here? The blacks on the Sony are not as black as the other TVs. So I'm going to show you guys this. This is interesting. This is something that maybe we were talking about earlier. Okay. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Okay, I think you guys can see this now. All right. So notice, guys, the Sony's blacks here, or the grays, are definitely lifted compared to the other two. So I'm sure you could fix this in calibration. But I'm going to see why that is in this picture mode real quick.
You can see it quite a bit.
Yeah, you can see it. See, YouTube compression does a few things. But when it comes to lighting, you're going to be able to see a lot of this. And let me see why.
It looks like the G3 there's a little more detail in the S95C. There's almost none on the G3.
Maybe because advanced contrast enhancer is still on.
Which one? On the A95L?
Yep, but you know, turning it off does nothing. Oh, it's an SDR. So, okay. So here's something interesting. This is SDR. This is Sony doing SDR.
That's an HDR demo too.
Yeah, Sony sees it as SDR. Live color is off. So make sure. Okay, so that's it. These are all the adjustments I have. And let me see. Signal info.
So it's pretty amazing to see all three of these OLEDs though.
You know, the Sony is, so Brian, the Sony is receiving this as SDR. I think the other two TVs are seeing this as HDR. This is why.
It's an HDR demo. That's the one from YouTube, right? That's an HDR demo.
Right. Let me see how LG sees it. Yeah, it's SDR. These are my SDR settings.
Oh, then you must have grabbed the wrong one.
Maybe. Let me do a little nit for nerds here.
There might be an SDR version of it. What's it playing out of?
It's HDR.
Wow, it's HDR, and they're all seeing SDR?
Well, no, so they're all seeing as SDR, but
what are you using? A Fire Stick? A Apple TV?
Yeah, Chromecast. Google's own. Well, okay, so the LG and the Samsung is showing it as if it's HDR because of the dynamic range. You see the dynamic range is much wider on the LG and the Samsung. So this is something that I'll figure out later. I don't want to spend too much time on it because really we're not here to troubleshoot, right? But
did you not enable that particular HDMI? You have to enable it to enhance.
You know, let me change it. Let me change it back. Let me take off the stats for nerds real quick. Yeah, that could be the case. It was in that weird game mode thing. Here, let me.
Yeah, so check that. That probably went back to standard.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Dude, that's troubleshooting live without a net. That's how we do it. Am I right? Am I right? Am I?
Okay, so I'm in enhanced 4K 120. Just go to enhanced.
Yeah, get rid of that. Yep.
All right.
And then go back out. You probably have to restart the demo though.
I don't know, man. Looks the same.
Back out of the demo though.
Oh, okay.
And then re-enable it.
I mean, everything else looks great, right? So let's get to that point.
See if it's in HDR. Just see if it's in HDR again.
Okay.
Just go to the picture preset. It should say HDR.
Oops.
There's your shortcut menu.
SDR.
Damn. All right.
And the image actually looks like SDR too. So it's something that we'll figure out later. But this is interesting. Because in the other two TVs, it looks like HDR. And it's going through a splitter, so it's the same signal against all three TVs. and we double checked the input, HDMI, it's on enhanced. So now the Sony looks the most washed out in this monster.
Don't let somebody jump in right now. Oh my God, I can't do HDR. There's no
I gotta
HDR.
return it. I gotta return it.
Well, KG appreciates that. You'll take 5 minutes of a 5-hour stream. Like, that guy said it doesn't work. That's it. No HDR. It'll be all over the forums.
Oh, hey, you know what, guys? We'll figure it out because, as
Yeah,
you can see, in this same scene, I cannot figure out why the Sony is an SDR, and it's clearly an SDR. This is why you get an OLED, right? Deeper blacks, all the good stuff. But clearly, everything is lifted to hell on the Sony now. So, and you know, because it's an LG OLED content, obviously LG is setting Sony up for a fail. They're like, aha, we're going to set this up so the Sony does not look good, right?
So now a few hours in, FOMO, give me your overall thoughts.
My
As far
overall
as
thoughts.
just a brief,
Okay.
what you think, your quick discoveries of, you feel like it's a good improvement over the A95? Do you feel like it's subtle? Are we just
Oh,
at
you
the
know what?
highest end? We're
The only,
splitting
okay, so
hairs?
the one thing the A95K did not do well at all, and it cannot be fixed, but it's TV to TV differences, is desaturated reds. Not all TVs have this problem. Mine did. Let's see if the A95L does have it. That was in the Illusionist, so I'm gonna pull that up right now.
Okay.
If they fix that, that's a huge fix for Sony. Not a win, it's a fix to match the Samsung and the LG. But the
Gotcha.
brightness is definitely addressed. So for those of you who
Okay.
wanted a bright sports TV, right there, I saw with you guys, in vivid mode, it's as bright as the G3. You know, we put it in vivid, the G3 was in vivid, the Samsung was dynamic. You watch Tennessee, was it Bama versus Texas? Not Tennessee. And looking at my exposure meter, the A95L in those scenes was just a touch brighter, just a touch APL, slight, but it wasn't like huge, right? Then the G3 and then the S95C was a hair behind the G3. So these would be the top 3 brightest TVs for sports watching in vivid mode you can get. And I think that's what Sony needed to do this year. So basically it's matching the S95C in brightness, but as you all saw, Dolby Vision, it's not as bright as the G3 when it's above its comfort level, I would say, like 2000 nits. It will bring it down. You still got all the detail, but it won't be as bright as G3. So if you have super bright Dolby Vision, wherever you're getting it, Netflix, whatnot, on the G3, it'll be a touch brighter. The Sony will pull it down. It'll be more like 800 nit Dolby Vision on the G3. All the details are there, I mean, on the A95L. All the details will be there, but you're not gonna get that dynamic range that you were hoping. And this is where I'm a little disappointed is if the A95L is supposed to be 30%, 50% brighter, apply it to your specular highlights. That's where we wanted, that range, right? Because if you apply to the whole screen to be slightly brighter in order to match the ABL, you haven't improved much because the whole screen getting 5% brighter, you can't tell. But if a small part of the screen gets 50% brighter, I can see that. And this is something that is a tone mapping decision on Sony's part, and it'll take some tuning. I mean, Sony's a firmware update away from making this TV even brighter. And that's something you guys have to keep in mind. This is a day one review where it's not even launched officially yet. So the firmware is not even out. I can't even update the firmware, right? There is no firmware.
Well, not just that, FOMO. When we're doing the shootout, we know a couple guys from Sony, especially one of them. Was it Pablo?
Yeah. Pedro.
Pablo.
Wait, Pablo.
Pedro. Wait,
No.
Pablo.
Pablo.
Robert. Which one is it? Pablo, right? Robert's still there. We know a guy, so we can say it right to him. Hey, and I'm sure he can figure it out.
Yes, absolutely. And Ferris, it's not Pedro Ferris, get me in trouble. And also, keep this in mind, the X95K last year, I also reviewed it week 1 it was available. It was quite disappointing, but after I stopped and I was done with it, right? 2 months into it, I was so disappointed, I just gave it to my sister-in-law or whatever. But by the end of the year, everyone told me, FOMO, you need to bring it back because they fixed this and that, and now it's brighter, the blacks are deeper, the blooming is fixed. I was like, I don't have so much room. I had to swap it in for the other TVs I'm getting through. So this is a day 0 for the A95L. I know future firmware updates will address the easy stuff. This is easy things, right? These aren't things that Well, some things you just can't fix. It is what it is. But I think they can adjust the tone
I think
mapping, but
so.
we'll see. I mean, that's
Yeah,
like I tell you
I'm sure
guys,
they
don't
can.
buy a TV on the assumption these things are fixed. Buy it
Yeah.
as it is, and if it gets fixed, you win. So, yeah.
Well, in this scene, we might still be in SDR too, lint mint. So don't go by what we see
Oh yeah,
pause up
no,
stuff.
no. This YouTube thing's a mess. Don't go based on
Don't
what
look
we
at
saw
that.
on YouTube for sure. Yeah.
You say you want to check out The Greatest Showman. You said you want to do one more.
The greatest. Oh yes, I was going to put up
Was it
the
was it was it the
Illusionist.
red? The
The
Illusionist.
red
My
and the
apologies.
Illusionist. So as you guys are talking, ask your questions if you please. I'll swap into the
Got it.
Illusionist.
Got it. All right, guys. What are your thoughts overall on the discussion in regards to the A95L? In the last, we're going up on 3 hours. Yep, 3 hours and about 4 minutes. You guys see a massive difference. What are you guys thinking? Does this give you the affirmation you need to purchase the A95L?
And if you guys are going to wait to purchase it anyway, especially the 77-inch, which is quite a pretty penny, Robert is giving 5% store credit to so
Yeah.
you can pick up a nice sound bar to go with it, or
Just
a
gonna say
nice
it.
player, disc
Yeah, and
player to go with it.
make sure with Best Buy, if you do click on it, remember, if you're going to get that, you have to go pick it up at the distribution center. You can't put it in the cart. So keep that in mind. It's not like you're going to go get it. You have to go get it.
Right.
Let's see.
All right, it's the cloak.
All right, let me see it. What are you drinking, baby? That's a big gulp. That was a
Oh.
canteen gulp right there. That was like out in the desert gulp.
Let me try this again. I screwed
And
up.
this is SDR, right? This is Illusionist
SDR. Let me go back to that scene, the cloak scene. There it is.
All
All
right,
right,
this is
let's
a
try that again.
Blu-ray as well, right?
All right. Okay, so this is the scene where it's a desaturated on the A95K near the bottom of her cloak. So we're not quite there yet, but when we get there, I'll show you guys. This is where on some A95Ks, it wasn't red, but it was just dark gray to black. But it should be red, dark red to black. It's coming up. I'm gonna pause it. Hopefully I don't cut out before I pause it. Everyone's nervous, just like that guy. Okay, here we go.
White knuckle it. Ah!
I know we're gonna get cut off any second now. All right, here we go. All right, let's see here. Let's take a close look here.
Technical interruption.
Let me turn up the exposure so you guys can see this. Let's see the magic happen.
Ward Wolfram just pre-ordered the 77-inch from Robert at Value Electronics. Excited to get it going. Awesome, Ward. Hopefully Robert's still here. I don't know if Robert even is still here. Robert, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations, Robert. You won yourself a sale. All right, and the A95L is fixed. So my A95K, let me show you guys real quick. Down here,
so Ward Wolfram said he pre-ordered the 77
black or dark gray, and now it's red. So as it should be.
So Ward, you have Mr. Zone on the phone right now. If you pre-ordered it, you got 77-inch.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm drinking my athletic greens. I haven't.
This thing at 77 is going to be amazing. Can't wait to see 77.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said, I'm sorry, FOMO, did the red get fixed?
The red's fixed. The desaturation near black, or the desaturation low luminance is fixed on the A95L. Now, to be fair to Sony, on the A95K, not all the panels have that issue. It's a panel lottery. Some people have it, some people don't. In this case, I don't have an A95L. Doesn't mean others won't, but it looks like it's fixed. Statistically speaking, anecdotally, I have a pretty good one here now, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, so you would say that if that was something that was repaired, that would be a big jump for you, something they really need to correct.
Absolutely.
So that's a good thing right there. Awesome.
Because here's the thing that we mentioned before. You're going to see low luminance issues more than high luminance issues, right? Because you guys saw my complaints with 10,000 nit content. Oh no, Sony didn't tone map it well. Well, unless you're watching Spears and Muscle as your only content, that's irrelevant, right? You don't get 10,000 nit content anywhere. You're lucky to get it On a disc, and that would be the Spears and Munsell disc. Anywhere else, it's just 1,000 nits most of the time, and under 800 nits the rest. What you will see more often than not are like 1 nit, 2 nits, 5 nits, and that's where in that scene it was under a nit. That's very common. You have a problem. The red was gone. It was just dark gray to black. So this is what we're going to study at the shootout as well, where for most people, streaming content disc, it's under 100 nits. How do they do at 1 nit, 2 nit, 3 nits? And then the luminance at 200 nits, 300 nits, and 400 nits. And this is where the TVs can separate themselves. So before we head out, let us know what other scenes you guys want to see head to head, and we'll do it for you.
Do we have that? What's that Harry Potter one you like, FOMO, with the swirling dragon?
Oh, the beasts.
It's a nice one.
That one, right, with the
Yep.
dragons swimming around.
Yep. The shootout is the last week in September.
Yes, the 20,
Yeah, question.
September 30th is the day they shoot up, but we'll start streaming on the 27th. So I'll
Yep.
be there on the
Which
26th.
is my birthday, by the way. So we will be
We're
there.
going to celebrate it with a live stream. We're going to interview the calibrators. We're going to get their point of view about out of the box, what they feel is their favorite TV, before the settings, after the settings. This is stuff you're not going to get at the actual shootout because these are the calibrators talking. The judges voting is a whole different team. And so, you know, and if you guys suspect there is something funny going on, there's a bias happening, I want to hear it before the shootout. By the time the shootout happens, it's too late. If you suspect something, Brian's going to come in there with his one big muscle, and he's going to enforce the law.
I'm going to start slamming people. I got a question from our buddy Paulie, you know, good personal friend of mine, who just heard the Hisense speakers, FOMO. He heard the U8K and the U7K. What do you think about the speakers? I know you haven't really heard them, but in comparison
You know
to,
what?
the A95K.
Let's do it right now. But the problem is if I play any of these loud, you know how YouTube will cut you off with audio. So I do have a audio scene I might be able to use. Let me look for that. I think it's actually on here. And we'll see. We'll compare it next to each other and we'll see what happens. So if you can answer a few questions, I'll find it.
Yep, of course. Yeah, Jared, they did the Burning Guitarist already. That was earlier. So far, the A95L has been excellent. Let's see. Reserve your gameplay and such for the 77-inch, Brian. I will definitely be gaming on the 65 next Friday at Value Electronics. And then if you guys want, I'll go back and game on the 77 when they have one there. Game Enthusiast just pre-ordered the 55-inch from Value Electronics. If Mr. Zone is on here, I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you. I'm taking one home as my computer monitor.
Yeah. And guys, I mean, you know, we talk about, you know, Value Electronics is a family-run business. It is Robert, Wendy, and their daughter, Leanne. That's not market speak. They are a family business. You know, I'm there a lot. They are like family to me. I am not happy about this Best Buy thing, honestly, only because, you know, Robert had committed to pushing the shootout back so the A95L could be there. So, you know, I'm a little bummed too, but that's why we have him on here tonight. And he's trying to make it where you guys can get even more bang for your buck. So please consider purchasing from Robert. They're an awesome family. So please do that if you can. And the HTA9 and those systems are awesome. I have one in the apartment right now. Love it. So thank you guys for purchasing from them, from Robert, who's on here right now.
Thank
Absolutely.
You,
yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I was there for like 8 hours today. I mean, they are family to me. So I got a lot of love for them. The whole family is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to try to add that audio that I made to test speakers right now. So give me 3 minutes and I'll be able to add it to this YouTube channel of mine.
Yeah, because we talked about at this level, you know, Sony having the better, you know, sound quality. The XLED sound quality is amazing. And we talk about the Hisense speakers are pretty powerful. So I'd love to hear how these sound. And for anybody listening, this is without the HTA9 or any of the sound bars or anything. And Robert, thanks for being on too so long. I know Robert's really busy organizing the shootout, so I really appreciate you coming on this late on a Saturday. So,
It's beautiful. Thank you for
yeah,
inviting me.
it's
It's a
our
great.
pleasure, man. It's our pleasure.
I'm excited for you to listen to the TV's built-in audio. I never in my life would have ever thought I would say, "This TV has good audio."
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the TVs do this year. We spoke about Sharp's really great audio
Yeah.
on that new XLED,
Yeah.
and this
Sharp is
one,
amazing.
this A95L has really excellent audio. And
So Robert, I did tell FOMO. I did tell Robert and Wendy the story about your mom and the 950 TS. When she said this thing's not loud enough, he's like, I
uh,
gave her an 8K flagship, and she wanted me to send it back.
They must
yeah,
have, you guys love that, huh?
yeah,
I mean, Robert, he hooked her up with literally the 8K. I think it was the first year they went bezel-less, and she was
yeah,
like, "This thing's a piece of crap."
yeah,
He's like, "What?" Because it wasn't loud enough, which is funny.
yep. Well, you
That's why
you
I don't.
really still today you need an external audio system, but
Yeah.
it's nice how they designed all the integration of using all the actuators
Yep.
as an
But,
additional second center channel with really great benefit. Oh my
well,
gosh.
and that's where I don't mind the X95 and the X93 being a little chunky.
LG and Samsung did the same thing this year. The QN990C soundbar from Samsung
Yep.
uses all this actuators on the S95C.
Well, we're gonna have a soundbar shootout too, Robert. But what,
Yeah,
you want to talk about that a little bit before FOMO
yeah,
gets the sound thing set up?
yeah.
Lisa, did I miss a message from you?
The LG SC9 is crazy good. You've heard it we have it set up.
Hmm. Yep.
It's so good, it's crazy, and it's so well priced. But they're all designed to work together with the TV speakers in a very intelligent way.
I
It's
like the
interesting how they all
AT-AT9
learn
a
from
lot.
each other.
Yeah.
That's
They
interesting.
really do. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of
Which is
like you could say, oh, they ripped off, I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to bring Sony up. Oh, they copied what Sony did. But you know what? It's good for everybody when they do that. And they make it a little bit different. They don't violate patents.
no,
But
but we talked about that with LG, where it really took QD OLED for LG to say, okay, it's time, and they brought out MLA. So
that's
that kind
right,
of
right.
it's what we need.
But this TV audio integration with the sound bars that the same brand makes, that's a
Yep.
Sony original idea.
Oh yeah.
From
Was
2
it
years.
Was the A90J the first one to do that?
Yes, and boy, is that cool the way that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. I have it on the A80J too.
I don't know if you heard, but there's one last surprise production of 83-inch A90Js.
Yeah, you said that.
It's a
If
good
this room
surprise.
wasn't so bright, it'd be in here.
Well,
Go ahead.
I've jumped in on a big bunch of them. I like that.
Nice.
I still, that's our TV at home here.
Yeah. Hey, if you're not switching it out, that speaks volumes, Robert, considering that
No,
you have access.
that's for sure. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to try to play this audio and see how it does. We'll listen to it. Obviously, it'll be my assessment. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to try the Samsung on this because I know the Samsung's a little bit louder than the LG. And we'll try the LG as well.
Soros, why the Value Electronics A95L is only $1? You only need to put down $1 to reserve it. That's why it's
Yeah.
only $1. Which one was that?
That was a Samsung. Oh, the bass.
Damn.
Okay, hands down, that's Sony's impressive. You hear that bass? The
That was,
Samsung. Yeah, that
So for
was. Yeah, I'm impressed.
so for my buddy Paul, how would you compare that to say the U8K with those speakers on the side? Would you say it's bassy? It's got more. Those are both loud TVs. Would you say it's equally loud, or is it just got more bass to it?
It's both louder and okay. So the best way is to go up to 90. If I 80 to 90, right? Because then it starts distorting. But the Samsung literally is at its max volume almost. I can go probably a little bit louder, but it's not going to make a big difference. At some point, it just right. But you know, so from this distance, I'm about 15 feet away, 16 feet away. So this is the Samsung from 16 feet away at 91. Whoop, let's go back. This is the Sony. Oh yeah. So there's no way the Samsung doesn't have. So this is the Samsung female vocals. Again, about 15, 16 feet away. Oh wow.
Oh my God! Really? All right.
Okay, the Sony is a soundbar. I am so impressed, guys. And you guys heard it, right? I'm exactly the same distance from either TV. They're both at 90. The Sony has so much more headroom, so much more clarity, and that, wow.
It
Okay,
sounds bassy though. It sounds bassy. It's bassy, huh? Wow. You're really risking it tonight, huh, FOMO? Living on the edge, huh, baby?
This way, singing my madness to the moon.
It actually sounds good through my headphones. That's actually surprising.
You know what? This is a big upgrade in every way this year.
Wow, Robert. Wow.
Okay, Robert, I need to get the Sharp. There's only one TV that could beat this Sony.
Good, if not better.
Potentially the Sharp could beat it, but right now the A95L. And I'll play the Hisense U. I don't have the Hisense anymore. I'm sorry, the QM8.
Yeah.
I'll see how well the QM8 does, but I'm telling you right now, guys, this is worthy of a flagship audio TV. Audio on a phone.
Robert and I, we'll compare them Friday.
You have to try it with a Sony audio receiver and your surround sound speakers, and use the center channel lift. You have to experience that. I mandate you to do that.
Mandate.
This is easily.
You're mandated.
We got Caleb Dennison is in the house tonight. What's up, Caleb? Caleb's stopping by to say hi. What's up, brother?
You got to test the audio on the A95L. You will be so impressed. So impressed by the A95L.
What's happening, bro?
You know, it's funny. I produced this track for audio comparison of TVs. I never got a chance to use it until now.
This is your producing debut right now?
This is mine. Yeah. This is like, it's unlisted, right? You see, unlisted, stop the FOMO. This is actually, I was going to share this with everyone so they could test their TVs with it. I just thought I never got a chance to do a video on it. Because wait a minute, did I do something like this?
Music producer. Boom! New
It's
channel.
got, well,
Hashtag
I mean,
like
produced
Instagram.
meaning I didn't make the music. What I did was I
Oh,
gathered
here
the
we go.
music, I matched everything, I made sure it was all royalty free. So as a
Okay.
producer, it doesn't mean I'm the musician. I would love to have been a musician,
For a
right?
minute, I thought we were going with a new channel, baby.
But
New channel.
all the levels and everything, I did all of that so that you guys can see what frequency your TV's weak at, right? Because some songs have low frequency. Because I know a lot of people, they want to know, well, I want to hear, you know, I want to watch movies, so I have cinematic scores that go a little bit lower. But you see how low it's supposed to go. Then you can see where your TV kind of maybe cuts out compared to other TVs, and this allows me to have context. So when I tell you guys, hey, you know, in this movie or in this track, in this scene, at this timestamp, this is what I'm hearing. And then I could play what I'm hearing to you guys, and you guys can go, oh. And then when I tell you guys that I level match, quote unquote, it means that the TVs technically at a certain signal, it's the same level. But then as you have different frequencies, that level actually changes. How does it sound on the TV when you actually have more variations of levels, right? Does it hold on to the sub, the bass? How's its woofer? And I have to tell you, that A95L is very impressive. Now, it wasn't a high bar though. It was the S95C, which makes it look amazing. I need to compare it to the QM8, which is very loud. And Brian, when you get the A95L, please compare it to the U8K. That's another impressive TV audio. Or no, forget the U8K. You have
No,
the
the
Sharp.
XLED, yeah. Well, the
Yeah,
XLED is
yeah.
sitting at Robert, so we'll do
Can
it.
it match the Sharp? So
We'll do it
many of
Friday, right,
you
Robert?
who, yeah. So
Yes.
when you get the A95L through Robert, don't get a soundbar for now. Get something else, right? Get anything else, because I think this audio is going to be very satisfying for many of you. That sub, you guys heard that? Wow. So yeah.
Very cool.
We'll go
Very
into
impressed
male
with it.
vocals later, but okay. So you have any questions?
Well, KM says, KM McCullough 90, absolutely can't wait to try the acoustic center feature with my new 7.2.4 system with the 5000 ES AVR. Yeah, follow up. Let us know what you think of it and how you like it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So this, obviously, you're not going to get surround sound from the speaker. It's coming from the speaker. It's not even trying to bounce audio on the ceilings. What I'm seeing is, if you're sitting 10 feet away from this TV, audio is rock solid. If you're sitting 10 feet, 12 feet away from a 65-inch, that's the G3 or the S95C, you know, you may just be able to hear the dialogue, but that's about it. So this is why I tell people get a sound bar. And the A95K was okay, but this is probably the loudest acoustic glass audio system, and I'm sure it has woofers behind it as well, that I've heard from
Well, there also might be presets in there too, FOMO, for
Oh yeah,
dialogue
I'm
or
sure of it.
movie or surround. So that probably would clear that up if you're watching a romantic
And
comedy or something.
also the calibration, I didn't finish calibrating the audio
Well,
for
the
the TV.
acoustic,
Maybe
yeah.
it might get even
Yep,
better, right?
probably.
So yeah, and it's default. I didn't select, you know,
Yeah, those
cinematic or
presets make a
whatever.
big difference on Sony, especially.
Yeah, yeah. This is the first time we did audio, so that's great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're like a maestro right there.
That's awesome.
Producer.
All right,
Nice.
let me see. Any questions? And then I'm gonna let you. I mean, it's 9 o'clock over there. Have you eaten, buddy?
Nah, I was at Value Electronics. I had a shake, and then I just came home. That's it. I have not eaten yet.
Yeah.
That's all right. I get leaned
I
out
had my
for the
athletic
shootout.
greens. Let's
Nice.
see. Someone asked about. Okay, so here's a good question. Noel Burke asks, FOMO, what is the deal with the cable management on the A95L? Photos show cable at both extreme sides of the TV in the photos. Is there a channel to put funnel the cables into the center of the TV for hanging? The answer is no. What you have is you have plates that will cover up the cables, but there is no cable management per se that brings it to the center of the TV. You know what? Let me double check real quick. Because I know the A95K didn't have it. And it looks like this is similar. Yeah. Everything goes straight down on either side. It does not go through the center. You don't get that option. It just drops straight down. You have a door or a plate that you can cover the cables. But as far as management is concerned, you know, what can you do? That's what it is. And Leo is finally broke down. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
Leah, thanks
Hold
for
down the
hanging out and all
fort.
your help tonight.
Thank you,
Leah was
buddy.
helping.
You're always
Leo,
welcome, my
he
friend.
was
Bye,
helping with the
Leo.
comments and helping us out, letting us know about the super chats. Appreciate all your love and support, Leo. Thank you, buddy.
And Tech with KG is about to order a Chick-fil-A. Grab a shake with it now that you mentioned shakes, you guys. Yep.
Much
Okay.
love,
Thank
KG.
you, everyone, for showing up. I mean, I'm just so I'm in shock. The first we have the TV. I did not expect to see this TV at all. And
Yep.
pull this out. Let's take this down. Get us up. Oh, look how big you are.
Look how bright I am too. I get some new lighting
I
in this
know.
apartment. It's
It's
too
like,
bright.
what?
Turn that off. I don't even need it.
Here, I'll try to be as big as you. There we go.
Take it on my shoulder.
It's too late for me to figure this out.
I never don't try now.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. We're gonna have more fun videos. I'm gonna get a chance to do more comparisons and stuff. Take my time to go through everything, and I have to say this YouTube SDR thing is bothering me. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure
as
we'll
you
figure
saw,
it out.
even here when I'm doing my comparison, right, the SDR mode, it's weird. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let Classy figure it out. Why do I have to do all this work? He's gonna call me
Yeah,
later
right.
says, I did it. I figured it out. Right? I'm gonna let other people figure it out. But ultimately, though, on YouTube, there's something funky going on with the SDR or HDR. It just everything feels washed out. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure it has to do with the inputs. But I double checked everything. So, but okay, conclusions. As far as, are you leaning over so you could be seen?
Yeah. Honestly, like Nikki, you move the camera
Con-
around.
conclusions, rough conclusions. The A95L is definitely a incremental upgrade over the A95K for movie cinema HDR. Sports, it's significant. It's brighter than the A95K. It's as bright, if not brighter, than the G3 for sure. Is that yours or mine?
That's somebody outside my
Oh, okay. I
apartment
couldn't
beeping.
tell which was which. And the sound, though, was the biggest shocker. I didn't expect the sound to be, because I remember the A95K sound was never that full. It was, you could always get it loud, but it was never that full. And definitely not like this from 15, 16 feet away. So this is a more complete TV than the A95K was, although it has to be use case specific. If you're going to get a soundbar anyway, you're not going to benefit from the increased audio. And if you only watch high quality HDR content, you might not notice the difference. But if you watch a lot of sports, this TV, I was normally going to say get the G3 if you like watching sports. If money's no object, I'd say get the A95L now, because there's no reason to get the compromises that come with the G3 in other content because it's WOLED. And we're talking the DSE issues, the uniformity, the tints, all of that, right? You don't get that with QD OLED. So now the Sony's Bright Vivid makes it a more complete TV. Now gaming remains to be seen. I'm looking forward, Brian, to your reviews on gaming, and you could tell us if you recommend the A95L for that stuff. But as far as my people, where it's just content watching, and YouTube TV for sure, the motion stuff, they separated specifically how they wanted the motion so you can manage your soap opera better. Only Sony does that this year by splitting the motion flow into 2 types of motion settings. That's pretty brilliant, I think. I cannot help but recommend the A95L because it fits what I do with it. I watch a lot of sports, right? So, and football, contrast looks great. So yeah, it's definitely, I have the A95K at home though. So you guys know, I still have the A95K. I don't have it here, but I do have it at home, and it's the one that, it's our daily, when it's a bright room, I watch the A95K. When it's dark, boom, it's the ultra short throw. So it just depends on my viewing experience and who's watching. If I'm watching it, it's always the A95K. But that's kind of like my initial impressions. Brian, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, being realistic as we are, we talk about incremental upgrades over something that's already amazing. That's what we expect, even if it's supposed to be mind blowing. Do you know what I'm saying? So the fact that it's improved in the areas that we discussed even the red cloak scene we were talking about, the desaturation. I know the clear is a big deal that I've seen this year. So to me, I'm impressed with it very much so far. Even the Dolby Vision limitation you were discussing earlier doesn't really bother me. It's not much that we're watching at 10,000 nits. So far, I'm very happy with it. I think it's excellent, and the fact that it's as bright as the G3 and the S95C to me is a big jump. So I'm very happy with what I've seen on this first impression. And again, it's early days. It released early. I believe when Robert was supposed to get it is when it was supposed to release. So it's going to definitely be updated, most definitely. So far I'm impressed and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And I want to mention what next gen tech is saying. Sony did good, but it's not a huge upgrade at all. So we're at a point where there's never a huge upgrade. I think
There's no huge upgrades. Yeah, we've
the
seen it.
hugest upgrade would be the G3 MLA. That was a huge, but then all it did was,
Yeah,
it's a huge upgrade relative to LG, but now it's caught up to the S95C and the
yeah.
A95K. So now the G3 is right there with them. Moving
Yeah.
forward, I know I said this before, but I don't expect huge upgrades, but more
No.
those minute quality of life things that make your life a little
Yeah.
bit better. And
Well,
hey,
well,
like
we
we
said
said, get
well
last
we
year's
said this
TV.
last well we said this last year, FOMO, that the QD OLED was the big upgrade. So it's really hard to
Yes.
expect another like the QD OLED to then now jump again. You know, uh, Soros said there's no excitement in my voice. I'm 3 hour live stream and I've been filming since 10 this morning. But I think we saw a big jump in the last few years with QD OLED and now with MLA. I don't expect this next jump to be an even more jump. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's still, we talk about the differences, these TVs, we're still splitting hairs. A little bit better is better. So, even thinking it's going to be mind blowing is still a big difference for us. So I do think it's a good jump.
Agreed. Agreed. And I know we're going to have a lot of reviews from our friends all over, whether it's Brandon or KG or Classy or TKK. We have so many people in our review community. And of course, Caleb. You all are going to have such diverse opinions. And there's no wrong opinion because it's preference. This is why at the shootout on September 29th, September 30th, September 28th, September 27th, October 1st, it's like a week of content. And we're going to have preference. We're going to have reference mode with the monitor on, with it off. You're going to have judges, wait, where's the reference? And we're like, there's no reference. What do you like?
Yeah.
Be honest. What is it you like best? There's no wrong answer because people want to hear what professionals think about these TVs when they are uncalibrated, almost out of the box, right? In their best picture presets. How do you like it as it is? And then Sony's going to say, with live color on, you're going to like mine better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, wait a second. But, that was real quick before we sign off. That's what I love about us talking about differences between just having it accurate. Little things like live color can make all the difference in the world, or tone mapping on the LG. So it's not as much as getting them all the same all the time. You can make them look, better or different compared to what you like.
yep. And this discussion is, okay, so here's another thing. We cannot help but be fans of a brand for whatever reason, right? I am a fan of Sony specifically because they may not put the effort into gaming, but they put the effort into motion, into image processing of low bitrate content. Those two things not only affect me, but I think affect most people. And
Yeah.
that's, to me, a good place to put your resources. So I like Sony for that. But other people like soap opera. So they don't benefit from the things that Sony's putting
Yeah.
effort into. And so if they get a QM8, like, oh my God, this is the best TV ever. Because to
Yeah.
them, they hit all the strengths that they enjoy and none of the weaknesses that they're sensitive to. So definitely use case. You guys are choosing the right TV as long as it fits your use case. So don't let other people say, oh, you got a crap TV. Well, it could be crap for them, but not for you, especially if it fits your
Well,
budget.
and from what we've always said, especially with Sony, that processing is a accumulated knowledge that they have continued to build and build and build and build, and that's where it really sets them apart from Hisense, TCL. In our opinion, LG and Samsung caught up last year. I do feel Sony pulled away again as far as their processing. So, I mean, that's what they hang their hat on, and that's what you're going to pay a little bit more for. You said the sound quality, build quality, they're more solid. Some people said they're more reliable, they last longer. These are things that are going to cost you a bit more.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
we also said in the shootout, if your TV loses because it's too saturated or too poppy, that might be a reason you like it. So even a loser at the shootout might be why you'll choose it, whether it's
Yeah.
accurate or not. And Classy said that earlier about HDR, accurate HDR. A lot of you are going to want dynamic tone mapping enabled, and whether it's accurate or not, you may want to choose somebody for that reason. And that's important to know your preference, not the creator you're watching.
And something for you guys to know, at the shootout, the Sony will be in its most accurate mode, or rather, it will be in a mode that allows it to be made like a reference monitor, which means
Yes.
it'll be in this graphics PC mode that none of you will likely be using because we need to disable every bit of processing on the Sony the way the reference monitor is to see how close the Sony can get to a reference monitor, and the LG will be the same. And the Samsung, it doesn't have a mode that you can disable everything, but we'll try to get as close as possible. It's trying to get it to a point where you can say, okay, if you need a reference TV to match a reference monitor, this is what we did. But that's one score. That is the king of TVs, right? Or the king of Hollywood cinema purist TVs. And then we're going to have subjective preference scores where, okay, the reference monitor will be off because these are the settings that we think look good and
Yeah.
accurate, but realistically, you're not going to touch any of the calibrators modes, any of the service menu, any of the the special
Yeah.
modes that you need a meter to play with. How does it look? And so we're still in discussion between the calibrators and myself, like how
Yeah.
should we do that? But the purpose of that mode is to be able to share with you, the viewers, hey, this is what we saw. You could do it too. This is the settings we used, and this is what the creators and the judges chose based on what the calibrators thought was good and that you guys could use yourself. And it may be a completely different TV, or it may be the Sony. And we don't know yet. This is the first time we've done this as well. I mean, I have
Well,
my
and that's
guesses
where
and my predictions.
Well, and that's where Dartman, which is Terry, who actually got his Z9K from Value Electronics, if he said, the Z9K needs to be in beast mode. Well, that is live color. That is all the processing enabled. And I think that's where we talk about that fun mode. The QN90A at 100 inches looked horrendous at M-Wave until we were able to actually put it in a different preset. In Filmmaker, it looked very smoky. As soon as we were into it, any other preset, even movie, it looked a million times better. So I think sometimes getting those down into you being able to show the uncalibrated mode might be something that other people and the judges may appreciate it as well. But we're
Mhm.
working on that because where do you stop and start that?
This was
So
your comment, and Dartman's comment is exactly that, right? You turn down the Z9K, right? You bring it down to the reference mode, you kill the
yep,
magic. So our
yep,
job as not just reviewers for benchmark TVs, but what is it? Real tech for real people, Brian?
yeah,
Your
that's the
tagline.
tagline.
Real tech for real people is the magic. So we want to see what makes these TVs magic. LG has its magic, Sony has its magic, as well
Yep,
as Samsung. And we all have people who are very familiar with what makes the magic. With a Sony, what was that magic? Maybe a little bit of live color, maybe a little this, a little of that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're going to have an advocate, the Sony guy, make it happen. Why do you make it magical? You're here.
yeah,
The judges have no reference monitor. Do what you think Sony told you to do to make it magic. And then we have LG's team, right?
yeah.
Make it magic, guys. And then we have the Samsung team, and
Of
you and I
course.
would be on the Samsung team because we know what
Yeah.
makes it magical. Now we throw it out there, and then suddenly the judge is like, "Wow, this is very punchy. Which one? Which one do we
Yeah, so I
want?"
mean, I'll share with you guys quick. I mean, the video that I'm working on tomorrow is the X90L versus the U8K. And even in SDR and HDR, whenever I would take away live color to make the X90L look more accurate, the U8K all of a sudden looked like a Samsung. But once I was able to put the magic back into the X90L, it beat the U8K. So in doing only filmmaker or custom only, it would look drab by trying to look realistic. But it does have the headroom to do more. So it's
Yeah.
always good to know all the presets. And if you guys are looking at something and say, well, that looks pretty drab, well, it looks realistic. Your grass isn't green. Once in a while, it's okay to have that nuclear green, baby. That Samsung nuclear green. The Z2 is still the best TV in the world as far as I'm concerned, but
It's
that's, it's
I think
30K.
maybe this year they caught up. Z2 is still
Maybe.
WOLED, right?
It's still, yeah. I mean, if the Z2 did MLA, it would be ball game. Just wrap it up, we'll be all set. But they're not, so
And
no point
we're
in
going to wrap
pushing.
it up with this very technical questions about the future. Tech with KG asked, hey KG, FOMO, do you think we see QD on top of a phosphorescent OLED before the phosphorescent OLED? He's talking about the blue phosphorescent OLED that has been announced and is launching in 2024. Not on the TVs, launching and being provided to Samsung and LG. I think they have it now, by the way, and they're looking at it. Do I think that the QD will happen first? And I think it will because here's the thing. Samsung is only working with blue right now. They're not, well, maybe a little bit of green. But blue is their future, and they're already working on phosphorescent blue OLED on the side before UDC's chemical. And this gives Samsung that pressure, and they have a lot of money. Samsung Display has more money in the bank than LG Display. Samsung Display is actually profitable. And with all of that available to it, I think it would come out before regular W full LED. But it doesn't mean that LG didn't learn its lesson, because what did we say? You should have had MLA, but not just MLA. MLA on the C3. They did MLA on the G3, but now the C3 is dead with the S90C costing $100 cheaper and brighter and better for gaming. The C3 is like, what do you do with that price point, right? So they should have given MLA across both lines, push the
Hopefully
G3
next year.
harder, brighter,
Hopefully next
but
year.
now we're hearing next year the G4 with MLA will be even brighter, and then the C3 with MLA will be around where the G3 is this year. Maybe a touch
Yep.
less bright, but very close to G3, and the
That
G4
would
will
be good.
definitely be brighter. But I just cannot help but wish they did it this year. So
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And as we said, it's a game of chess, right? I mean,
it is.
I know the Z3. We saw the Z3 at CES, and the 77 was supposed to have MLA, which I think it does, but then they didn't release it. So it's all about their cost and what they think is smart, and that's them to figure out.
And at the end of the day, I think Philly D has, let's settle down. A95L is good. G3 is good. The S95C is good. And the S95C,
I mean, guys.
by the way.
We very rarely come across a crappy TV. I mean, I know you guys, and what's so funny is I'll share this with you guys. Anybody that calls anybody else a fanboy is almost always a fanboy. Almost everybody, goddamn LG fanboys in the house. It's almost always a fanboy. We're not fanboys. We do like these manufacturers, but we very rarely have a TV that's garbage. I mean, it just really is. It just doesn't. So, I mean, I know how you guys are, but there's no garbage. They're all excellent. And I love seeing that these three, especially one that's not even QD OLED, are so closely matched. And that even a Samsung S95C calibrated looks so close, right, FOMO? I mean, we saw the S95B last year. We were shocked that it was accurate. So, I mean, they're all kind of coming together to be amazing. So, and that we all win when it's like that.
And I think Cole nailed it with the OS system. At the end, personally, I really enjoy the Samsung TV Plus because my parents just click on it, my wife clicks on it and watches just random show. The way they deliver Samsung TV Plus, they just like how it works. They like watching that a lot. See, you hate it, right? My parents, they love it. My
I'm
wife
there
loves
today.
it.
I'm there comparing the QM8 to the XL. At this little tiny remote, I'm double clicking the settings. I'm putting it in retail mode. I mean, I'm like, geez, and people love it. I'm like, wow.
They do. And that's the thing is like, I don't care because I just go straight to Netflix or YouTube or whatever. I'm done. I don't care about the UI because we know it so well. But when it comes to just regular everyday Joes, again, I have to remind people, Samsung is the #1 TV seller in the world because its OS actually, the people like it, right? If they didn't, they wouldn't buy it because it's not cheap. It's not like, oh, Samsung is so cheap, that's why they're buying it. No, they're paying a premium and they like the OS. And LG
they do pay attention to what the people that like them like. I mean, they do listen to the fans. That is one thing they do. What they do well.
Yep. Okay, I think this is a wrap.
Is Robert
Thank
still with
you.
us?
Is he?
I don't think so.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Man, Robert, my man, road warrior.
Robert
jump
is
in
a
there,
warrior
talk.
with us. Thank you,
Boy,
Robert.
Robert
And
had a
thank
long day. I
you.
was with him most of the day.
Yes, thank you.
But Robert, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for letting me shoot the XLED in the store today. We will be at Robert's next Friday. And Robert, quickly before we go, you want to recap a little bit. He is, adding a excellent, benefit for you guys if you do want to buy the A95L 65 and 77 from Value Electronics. Robert, real quick, just give us the quick rundown before we sign off on what you're offering the folks for the A95L.
You bet. Well, there's one or two things I can't actually mention online. So when your viewers call,
Call.
I'll give you some extra little bonus.
You got
Yes,
it.
please. You know what? It can't hurt to call Robert to find out what that bonus is. By the way,
Yeah,
you can always say, "It's okay, Robert. I don't need the $10,000 soundbar. You can hold on to that." So give Robert a call and find out what that is.
Just real quickly, we have a 5% store credit. So if you buy the $5,000 77-inch, which is $49.98, I owe you $250.
Yep.
We have
Not 250.
use
Yeah.
that towards extended warranty or whatever you like. And if not, you
Yes.
tell me you don't want anything and we'll work out a nice deal.
Disc
But
players, right? Credit towards anything.
we also have some really cool, very super aggressive bundle exclusive promotions where if you want a new audio receiver or you want a Sony soundbar to go with it, on every model and every class, we've got some extra triple bonus.
I would suggest what Mo's are suggesting, get the Panasonic UB820 Blu-ray player. Let's keep physical media alive, and you can do that.
Yeah, or the 9000. We got the Magnetar now, Robert.
Yes,
they got some pretty amazing products down there.
Magnetar.
What is it?
Magnetar.
Magnetar.
Yeah.
It's a French company.
And Robert, they're wondering if you're going to the EU next because they want to see Value Electronics in Paris, London.
Yeah, they're a little busy here in the U.S.
I do love all of those countries and have traveled frequently.
All right.
I love all those. Thank you.
Well, Robert, thank you for being on.
Dartman wants to let people know he opted for the extended warranty. That's what he's buying.
And Robert, Terry bought the Z9K from you.
That's beautiful.
So Terry, thank you for shopping. He loves the Z9K as well. Great TV.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging on. And we're going to love the A95L. Don't forget, the shootout is in 2.5 weeks. Beginning September 27th. It will end October 1st. The link is everywhere on my channel. Check it out. And until next time, stop the FOMO. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Robert, for coming by.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Good night.